Good morning and welcome to the Mike Graham Show. I'm Mike Graham. As you can see, we've got some new signs here. I'm just trying to make it so that you can see it. I'm Mike Graham South. Emma Wolf is here. She is Mike Graham North, which is loosely based upon the fact that I live in South London, she lives in North London. And the good news is, Emma, that it hasn't cost us any money, apart from obviously the money for the ink and the money for the paper. Yep. But that's a lot less than less than £1 million. I've had this in the works for about a year.
Have you?
Yeah. Quite a long time, because I knew that I'd be becoming the Mike Graham Show a year ago. A year ago, North and South. So I thought, we'll hire a load of people, get some furniture in, right?
How much are the staff costing you?
Not very much.
Lease on the building?
800,000. Signed a lease on the building back in May of last year.
Yeah, that's the weird thing. And also the private jet to get you there and back.
And private jet, private chauffeurs all over the place. And, I'm not going to charge it to the taxpayer, though. I mean, what is going on?
Absolutely shocking. Do you have logos and labels and caps?
I've got some ring folder binders. I've got a couple of Range Rovers out there.
Got a whole load of t-shirts, one size fits all.
One size fits all t-shirts. North. Actually, we'll have to redo them now.
North.
Because they haven't done North and South. What's wrong with you? We haven't done North and South t-shirts. We should have some t-shirts in here, by the way, because I had an idea. We should just give them away to people.
Hang on a minute. Someone tweeted me about the Mike Graham Show t-shirt. Do they really exist?
There are t-shirts, but
right. Well, I want one.
I
will wear it around North London.
I think we should give them
to go camping in it.
Absolutely. I want the big, the massive
guests.
Wait, hang on a minute. One size fits all.
There's only one size fits all.
So they really are the biggies.
It is. Because I think it's an extra large, isn't it?
Like a PJ t-shirt, like you wear in bed.
Yes, exactly.
Perfect.
Yeah, perfect. I might even. Yeah, bring them in.
Brilliant. Will you bring one in for me?
Yeah, hiding in his garage at the moment. So anyway, here we are. Loads of different stories to talk about. But I mean, the only story in town really is Andy Burnham and this ludicrous idea. I'm Mike Graham East, says Witch Hazel. Very good, welcome. And that's Nor-West. It is the whole thing. We're going to play you a bunch of clips today, including the one which she put out at the weekend saying, what I did in the last 5 days. Alison Pearson described it as just William does politics.
Just William.
Because that's what it's like, isn't it?
I'm really angry about this. We are not going to let this one drop.
No.
What on earth is going on? No scrutiny. No kind of value for money, cost benefit. No
also
discussion.
Spending government money without permission.
Spending our money without permission. Yeah. Is this legal? How did this happen? He became Prime Minister on the Monday.
Right.
By Friday, he had those entire, people have done very, very brilliant and exhaustive analyses of how it all unfolded. But how on earth was he launching these new premises with a full phalanx of staff?
Yeah, right.
He was flying around the country. And as you said in your weekend wind-up, not only did he fly down on his private jet, and he could have got the train. People going, it's not safe. OK, fine, well then drive.
Well then, why is he if it's not safe to go there, why is he going there?
Well, people saying, but are you expecting him to get the bus? No, I'm not expecting him to get the bus. I understand that he's Prime Minister, but there are trains and there are cars. Private cars, you can get an Uber from wherever to wherever. You can have a driver.
Well, he's got a cavalcade of cars. I mean, somebody was saying.
And the point is, when he landed, as you said, he had 6 armoured Range Rovers
Metropolitan Police,
who had presumably driven up from London.
Driven up from London because they're the Metropolitan Police Protection Squad, right? So he's got all that. So if they were going to do that, why couldn't they just go to Manchester and get him?
Or Glasgow to get him and bring him down to Manchester.
Sorry, yes, goes to Glasgow. But that's the bottom line for me is that all of this extra expense and nonsense is because he doesn't want to live in Downing Street. Well, I'm sorry, if you get the job as leader of the country, you live in Downing Street.
Convenient, isn't it, that the private jet's probably going to take him home for the weekend every Friday? How often is this going to happen? Is this going to be happening several times a week?
Well,
is he going to be going up and down?
Well, we were told, would be not on Friday, I think, that Angela Rayner, Louise Haigh and I think Lucy Powell are all going to work from Manchester. Fine. But let's have a look at their expenses over the next few months and see whether they're still claiming the same amount, because they shouldn't be, because they're not coming to London anymore.
So are they never going to be in the House of Commons?
Well,
because this raises quite fundamental questions about what happens to the House of what happens to Parliament.
Right.
If they're all up in Manchester.
If she's the housing secretary, is she going to be in Parliament to answer questions on housing policy? She should be.
Of course.
So the whole thing is ridiculous.
The whole thing stinks. And the point is, we've had no discussion about it.
Yeah.
We've had no scrutiny of this, quite apart from all the costs. Because if they're all up and down like this, then there's going to be security for all of them.
Of course.
There's going to be security.
Can you imagine how many private secret papers are going to be left on trains?
On trains, exactly.
Like on a weekly basis.
It's ridiculous.
Who's got the nuclear codes? Oh, we left them on the 1040 from Stockport. Sorry.
Somewhere at Euston.
Yeah.
I'm really angry about this. I'm really angry about this.
It's the assumption that they've made that everybody's just going to go, oh, all right then. What about the BBC? Laura Kuenssberg goes to interview him, right? And I didn't get up in time to watch it because I normally watch it on catch up on a Sunday, right? So I got up and I went, where's the, get on the iPlayer, where's the Laura Kuenssberg show? Oh, it's not on. They decided not to broadcast the interview. Instead, they were putting out a couple of clips.
We're getting little snippets.
Which they then said, well, they're going to put it out in full sometime today. So 4 days after they've done the interview.
It's a weird kind of control, isn't it?
And she had to go with the BBC crew up to Manchester, and people were saying to me, oh, they've already got offices there. I said, that's not the point. The point is the Laura Kuenssberg show is produced in London at New Broadcasting House, where they've got a very large number of people, and now they've all had to decamp up to Manchester to interview the Prime Minister and then come back again.
I mean, yeah, look,
why?
I don't really care as much about the BBC and Laura Kuenssberg and what they spend their
That's
money on.
money
Even
as well,
though I know it's like, what I'm angry about is Andy Burnham and the fact that all of this. Do you know how many job adverts did they find for social media managers? Basically about 50.
Yeah, and there's about £500,000 worth of social media managers, right?
In Manchester.
Yeah.
Do you know how much this is all going to cost in terms of relocation of staff and all of that?
Well, it's at least $1 million a year, isn't it? But
it's
it could be a lot more.
So much more than that.
Yeah,
it's going to cost so much more. And this has just happened. And firstly, did he just assume? Was it a done deal that he was going to become Prime Minister? Because I think we need to know that.
Well, it seems as though not only if we are to be if the what we think are the facts as we believed, the lease was signed in May, which was before the election, right?
Before Makerfield.
So even if he was going to win Makerfield, how did he know that he was going to run in uncontested competition to be Prime Minister? Because he didn't know that at that point. He didn't say he was going to be Prime Minister at that point, It's all very odd, and I just think most people are not very happy. The only people who are happy about it are the sort of Westminster bubble types, and sort of some of the lefties on Twitter who are all saying, "Oh, isn't it marvellous that we can relocate?" Why has Manchester got any more knowledge of Leeds or Newcastle or Middlesbrough
of course it doesn't.
or Carlisle or Cornwall than London?
Of course it doesn't. It's not really the North. People in Northumberland and Edinburgh and Glasgow are saying, well, it's not really the North at all. How has he randomly decided? When he said, I love you, when he was literally, the David Brent awfulness of it all. God. And he's being applauded, clapped into every blooming thing. And he's, I love you, Manchester. Does he think he's on stage?
Yeah, also, we've seen all this before. No, but also, we've seen it before, right? All of that nonsense in Manchester was nothing to do with spontaneity and people being happy to see him. We saw it with Tony Blair, and we were fooled in 1997 when he walked up Downing Street, remember, with his kids and Cherie, and everyone was cheering. Yeah. And we were like, I fell for it. I was like, oh, is this nice? Everybody thinks it's a great new beginning. Yeah. They were all paid to be there. Yeah. They were all staffers from the Labour Party. Yeah. Similarly, that will be what happened up there.
Yeah, okay, right? Well, fine. I mean, that's probably what the Conservatives do. That's probably what Reform would do.
Yeah, but let's not pretend that it's some kind of spontaneous love of Manchester.
But why has Burnham... Exactly. The whole thing is just ridiculous. And why has he chosen Manchester as the seat?
He's not even from Manchester.
I just think this fundamentally destabilises the whole nature of Whitehall. What is going on?
Yeah. And people are asking me now, what about Chequers? What happens to Chequers? Exactly. Is his wife moving down to London or not? Is she staying in Manchester? I think we should be told.
I think we should be told. And also, the Prime Minister is meant to live in number 10 Downing Street.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure we heard, didn't we hear that, like, Lady Victoria Starmer, God, bring back the Starmers,
Vic,
honestly.
as we like to call her.
Yeah,
Vic.
exactly.
Lady I love you, Vic.
Vic. Why did he have to tell us that he loves his wife and kids? Why does he have to tell us that?
Because she doesn't believe him.
Have you ever walked into a board meeting and gone, I really love my girlfriend? Yeah. Like, it's not relevant. No. I don't care that
and by the way, here she is. I brought her to work today.
What?
So that she can give you a big hug, like she did with Vladimir Zelensky. By the way,
he hasn't taken long.
Guess who Burnham's seeing today?
Guess who's arrived?
He's come with his bag of money.
Fresh from Kyiv with a begging bowl. Yeah. It didn't take him long.
He brought a bigger holdall than normal this time because he needs a bit more money.
He can tell he's going to have a love-in with Burnham. Those two are going to get on. They're both the same size.
Is they going to be hugging, do you think?
Both about 4 foot tall.
Yeah, hugging.
And they are tiny. They'll compare mascara.
Yeah.
They can compare.
Maybe they could do a song together. Should we play that? We've got this song now. This is from a little while ago, so we don't want to pretend that this is in any way something he did over the weekend, because that would be wrong. However, have a look at this. This is him singing with somebody. Maybe you can identify who it is actually. What's the name of the?
Chesney Hawkes.
It's not Chesney Hawkes.
No, we don't think it's Chesney Hawkes. But doesn't the caption say it's at some festival or other?
Yes.
What is it?
Knows I'm miserable now in my life.
Why do I give valuable time to people who I'd much rather kick in the eye? True in my world.
Head for the hills, yeah, I would do actually. I'm going for that haircut, by the way, on the right. I'm just going to keep growing it out until it looks
So
like
wait, can I just check? Am I meant to be talking in a Mancunian accent? You're meant to be talking in a soft Southern accent?
No, you can do North London if you like.
Okay, I'll do
North London.
That's fine.
And I'll do
that,
South London,
okay.
which is in it a bit more like that, you know, talk a bit more patois like, you know. That's what it sounds like down in South Bermondsey that way. That's how they talk in Bermondsey now. They all talk the same way. It's nothing to do with colour, it's just like it's a patois, Bermondsey patois.
Yeah.
Yeah, in it. Like, that's the time, blood. That's how they talk.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it's you're looking at me like I'm doing something wrong.
No, I'm just trying to work it out. I mean, I've got this vision of this woman that won a Women's Visibility Award, and she was wearing, you saw it on Twitter probably, she was wearing a full burqa.
Not very visible.
Really?
How do you get a visibility award
visibility for young women
up?
and girls.
Yeah.
And she was literally head to toe in these, full burqa.
It is shocking. Shall we look? We've got a Burnham clip from the BBC interview that Laura Kuenssberg did, and this is him talking about Donald Trump already, sort of trying to hedge his bets, I
think that you can trust Donald Trump?
Well, I've had one phone call, and I always treat people as I find them, and it was a good exchange. I will judge as I find, and I found him to be really warm on Monday, but obviously, you know, we will continue to build the relationship as we go forward.
But as things stand, you're not sure at this stage that you can place your trust in him as a fellow leader.
It's a changing world, isn't it? And you just have to obviously call things as they develop. And I can't at any point say that I won't take a different opinion from him, that I will need to voice a different opinion that is right for Britain, and I will do that. My strength always is in remaining close to people, close to the public. That will not change because I'm Prime Minister.
So you'd be willing to call Donald Trump out if you think that's the right thing?
Of course. I mean, you've got to go into this. All leaders have to do that. You have to defend your own national interest before anything else. That's what you're required to do if you're to do this job properly. I will always put Britain's interest first.
I think he's actually not the Prime Minister. I think he's the Mayor of Britain. Right? I think that's what I'm going to start calling him, the Mayor of Britain.
That's let's call him that.
Because he likes to do all the kind of stuff that mayors do, which is to sort of appear at, you know, on television,
local events,
sing songs with locals. Doesn't actually really want to do any policy.
He doesn't want to be in number 10.
He doesn't want to be in number 10.
South.
Isn't that a nice little setup there for number 10 North?
Did you see all the screens and all the branding?
Lots of plants, loads
of
screens. I mean, it took us a while to get this look. You don't just do it in like a week.
Something is up.
Something very strange. In his first 5 days.
I really hope there's going to be proper scrutiny about this, and I'm really worried that it's just going to go. No one's going to notice.
Well, should there not be like an accounts committee demand?
But shouldn't it have been
for somebody
audited
to
and
appear?
checked first?
Yeah, but for somebody to ask for somebody from the government to appear and explain how they spent all this money and where the money came from, where it was allocated to, which department's paying for it, you know, all of that.
But this is the problem, because there is going to be now no scrutiny until sort of September when they go back. And then all the conference season, and then so really he won't be scrutinised properly until October.
Yeah. I'm just
so therefore he can just get away with doing what.
In case you haven't seen, we've got some signs. Will Geddes has arrived. Will, have you seen our signs? I mean, south.
Yeah, right? I don't want a north one.
And north.
You're going to be north.
Do you want? I can give you another south. If you're undecided, right? Non-binary, you can have one
of
these.
I like that. Can I have that one, please?
You want that? Oh, you want that one?
I like the golden number 10 North.
I thought you should actually have that. Sorry, my mistake. I should give you that one over. North, south. Why does the O on number 10 North look like it's falling over? Is this the shape of things to come? It's something to do with the typeface, I presume.
No, sorry, it is actually accurate to the number on the door. If you look at the door, apparently it is slightly that. I know it's skew-if, but apparently it does match the door.
When you do it like that, it looks funny, doesn't it? It does just, it's a sort of almost... How about if you put it like there? How about if we did that? How does that look? Can we have a...
because Charlotte hasn't...
Charlotte, we can't see this screen on the left here. Can we see that? Oh, that looks good, actually. 10 North.
There you go, 10 North.
There you go. That's all right.
There you go.
North, south, east, west. I mean, it's all very strange, isn't it?
What about the east and the west? What about...
Yeah.
What about
East Anglia?
You know, this thing about
The West Midlands?
power to every postcode, power to the people.
What a load of cobblers.
Money in every postcode, all this nonsense.
Yeah.
Well, what about my postcode? Can I have some money in my postcode?
Yeah. How about
It's
the
just
checks in the post? It's one of those,
slogans,
isn't it?
it?
It is
You know,
sloganeering of
it's
the worst
sloganeering,
kind.
being authentically Labour. I mean, they just come up with this stuff in
there
these
you go.
meetings
Yeah.
and these TikToks. And
Yeah.
some of them, I genuinely don't know whether it's a joke. I genuinely don't know whether someone's invented it on
Yeah.
X or whether they're real.
Yeah.
And he spent his time doing this stuff.
Can we do that welcome to number 10 North? Because people might not have seen it. Because a lot of this stuff went out late on Friday.
Yeah.
So it certainly wasn't on our show on Friday. So let's have a look. This is where he welcomes you into number 10 North.
Yes.
Hi Andy. Could you show me around your number 10 North office? Please?
Come on then. Come in.
Brilliant.
It's great.
It's lovely.
Very happy with it.
Can you show me some of the things you got?
New folder. There's my leaving present from Greater Manchester. Look at that. Gold disc of The Queen is Dead. I need to return that to Johnny Marr, actually. Great cartoon. Andy Burnham gets his hat-trick against Liverpool. Brit Awards in Manchester. And then over there, on the other wall. Now that is something I treasure. Somebody who
Andy,
is...
what are you... what
whoa!
are you watching?
Hang on. You don't need to see that. Okay, I think we better leave now.
All right, sorry.
Cheers.
I'll see you soon.
See you soon.
So that's really lame, right? That was probably
Really
somebody
lame.
wrote that and thought this would be funny. We'll put tea on your little laptop and make it look as if you're a secret tea drinker. I mean, it's really lame, isn't it?
Really lame, but also there is time. It takes time, you know, and I
Yeah.
know that to film,
Yeah.
a brief clip like that.
Yeah.
He's actually bothered. He's wasted time. With the country's not in a good state. Sorry
No.
to get serious.
Yeah.
The country's in a real state.
Right.
Yeah. He hasn't actually dealt with any of the issues. We've got a load of weirdos in the cabinet now.
Yeah.
All his mates. I mean, Lou and Lucy.
Oh, yeah.
Lou Haig and Lucy Powell. And you were talking about Lucy Powell grinning or sort of gurning away
Awful,
at him.
awful.
In that
Well,
cabinet
let's have a look
meeting.
at some of the stories in the papers just this morning, right? 900 plus have crossed on supersized dinghies in the Prime Minister's first week.
Yeah.
That's across the Channel, right? 900 of them. We don't know who they are. He hasn't mentioned the word immigration yet. When do you think he will? Do you think he'll mention it maybe Tuesday, Wednesday, perhaps Thursday? He won't appear in Parliament, of course, now until September,
No.
right? Here's another one. Police are breaking the law in Staffordshire over trans prisoners. They are, despite the fact that the Supreme Court tells them they have to put men who identify as women in men's cells, they're putting them in women's cells.
In women's cells. Can I
Right?
just say something about trans?
Yeah.
Did you see Sadiq Khan's latest nonsense about London is trans London?
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, Trans Visibility Day.
We
I've
love
got
you.
nothing against trans
You're
people,
wanted.
transgender people. He's obsessed with it.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, I have lived in London
he's secret
all
trans?
my life, right? I don't know. I know loads of people who are gay. I know loads of older people who, well, I don't know loads, but I did know older people
But
who
you
used to
do,
dress
yeah, of
as
course.
women and men and whatever. I don't actually know that many people. He's making out that London is some kind of trans city. It's
Yeah.
actually not.
No.
We
Well,
are
nowhere
talking
is.
about 0.0001%.
But nowhere is. That's the whole
But we're
point.
not anti-transgender people. But why? What's the obsession?
Yeah.
We love you. I've told you over on my son's
Yeah.
school. Well, you are welcome here.
Yeah.
We love you. Rainbows all over.
Yeah.
What is going
This
on?
is your city.
With Sadiq Khan and the
Right.
trans
Oh,
and
there
the
we go.
rainbow flags.
You are wanted, you belong here, you are loved. Really? Well, that's
We've
nice.
had
Isn't
months.
that special?
We've had months
You know.
and months of trans
I think I'll go.
visibility
Should we go to the
and LGBTQ plus
I plus
TQIA.
TQIA.
Don't forget the plus
Yeah.
bit.
Right.
I don't know what
God
that
knows.
stands for.
But I'm going to go to plus is sort of anything really, presumably, right? Do you remember they did that whole breakdown of
Don't
flags?
misgender
You
me.
could get
I'm
a
plus.
flag.
Don't misgender me.
No, you get a flag right now
Yeah.
for everything, and there's something called I can't remember what the name of it is. There's one particular sexuality because you know there's like 72 genders.
Oh,
or
yeah,
whatever, right?
when they did all the
And
flags.
One of them is
Pansexual.
One of them is pansexual. There's another one which I can't remember the name of it now, but it's very funny because it's basically somebody who has sex with people, but who has no kind of physical. I don't know what's the word. No physical, not physical attraction. No, but
Contact?
no, but it's kind of there's no romance to it or something like that. So I was like,
Well, that's
so I
called
did this on
platonic.
well, I said no, isn't that just you didn't call them the next day or something? You know, that's all it is.
One night
It's not,
stand.
you don't get your own flag. You get a flag. I've got a flag. I have to wave around because I might not ring you tomorrow.
Mike,
What?
That's ridiculous. That's a
Yeah.
one night stand. You don't get a flag.
Yeah.
I think you should have a Mike Graham show competition where anyone who can identify every single TQIA plus
special,
could get a mug or
prize.
something.
Yeah, well, how about this, right? This was great. Yesterday, apparently, Thameslink trains completely collapsed. So that's the train that goes from
I thought you
Brighton.
were going to say Gatwick.
No, well, we're
that's
going to
another
get to
one.
Gatwick. Funny enough, it goes to Gatwick, Thameslink trains, because if you got
Well,
to
it
Gatwick...
doesn't, but it should.
if you got to Gatwick, there was no water at Gatwick. And Gatwick put out a statement saying that they had an issue with the water. In fact, they'd shut the toilets.
I know.
All the concession stands were closed down. You couldn't get any food.
Disgusting.
You couldn't get any water. They were
No
handing out bottles of
toilets
water.
in an airport.
No toilets in an airport. There's
No one
thousands.
washing their hands.
No, you couldn't wash your hands.
Absolutely disgusting.
So they couldn't give out any food. We've also got that other story in the front of the Telegraph today. There's an Iranian charity which has been sponsoring, and there's some kind of Islamic bookshop, right, sponsoring migrants to come into this country as skilled workers. And they've been given permission to do this by the Home Office. These are all things that Andy Burnham could be talking about, but instead he's going, I'm in number 10 North, me, playing a guitar. I mean, it's ridiculous.
That's the thing. There are really, really serious issues going on in the world. What's he going to do about welfare? What's he going to do about defence? What's he going to do about Iran, the Middle East, and the Strait of Hormuz, and all of those things?
Yeah. Well, he's apparently allowing the Americans to use the British bases again, so at least we know he's going to do that. But, there are so many other stories. How about this on the front page of the Express? Police wasted £631 million on diversity last year.
How about
£631 million.
No, but they don't care. When it's millions like that, they just don't care.
Yeah.
Same on the front of the Times. Teen anxiety. So basically, if you claim you're a teenager, 16 to 18, you can earn a lot more getting your mental health universal credit or whatever benefit than working in a job.
And the thing that you can get it for is ridiculous. You can get it for things like, I'm not very well organised. Oh, okay, here's an extra £100 quid.
No, but you don't say that. You say it causes me anxiety.
Yeah, I can't. No, but I can't. No, but you can say I can't get from here to there without having an anxiety attack.
Exactly.
Or have some money then. So, apparently makes you less anxious if you have money.
Or if your boss says something, it could trigger you.
Yeah.
It could trigger a whole thing.
I mean, it is insane,
really
isn't
is
it?
shocking. But also, I think that's really, really sad. I think we're doing children, 16 to 18-year-olds, a massive disservice.
Yeah.
Because why wouldn't they go on benefits?
87,000 16 and 17-year-olds are claiming the personal independence payment. That's PIP. The non-means tested benefit intended to cover. So it's not even means tested. So you could even
and
be
why
living...
call it personal independence when you can't walk from here to the office?
Right, and you could be living in your parents' house in Tunbridge Wells and you still get it. That's ridiculous. A 16-year-old working 12 hours a week, the legal maximum during term time on the under-18 minimum wage takes home about 94 quid. The same teenager signed off with anxiety could receive more than double that
and they will be on benefits for life. If you sign yourself off with anxiety at 16, 18, 20, why would you start working again?
Yeah, I know.
And earning less. And also, what's his term time? They shouldn't be on benefits if they're in the school.
Yeah.
The whole system.
School holidays have started now, haven't they?
Yes, they have.
We should probably talk about the wildfires as well, shouldn't we? Because they're all on the front pages from Bordeaux, which looks pretty hellish.
We've got another heat wave coming this week, Mike.
We've got a heat wave, except I'm not worried about it.
I'm not worried.
It's not going above 30.
I'm used to it now.
Anything below 30, I'm fine.
I haven't slept with a duvet. That sounds really weird. I haven't slept with a duvet for like a month.
Yeah.
We
You
live...
just lie on the top.
You lie on the top, but you have to have a tiny bit of sheet, like a bit of sheet on somewhere on you.
Okay.
You can't have nothing. Have you noticed that? You need a tiny bit of...
bright moon last night as well.
Yeah, and you need starfish. Do you do starfish?
Starfish? No. What's that?
You have to
Sounds
kind of
rude.
starfish on your bed.
Oh, really?
When it's really hot, you have to starfish.
No, I just put a wet towel down.
Yeah, lots of cold showers and starfish.
Yeah.
That's how to sleep.
Okay. I just.
Will, am I right about starfish?
Oh, I always starfish.
Yeah.
Do you?
Oh, okay.
Thanks for this. I don't know how we got onto this
That's
subject.
an horrible visual.
It is. It's not. Yeah. It's not something I want to see first thing in the morning from you, Will.
I can't believe we're talking about positions
I know.
already, and it's only 7:26.
It is only 7:26. But what about Scotland? There was a great video that went out on Twitter yesterday from a Scottish farmer.
I want to do a poll
On
on your poll. What is the best position to sleep in a heat wave?
All right.
New UK heat wave rules.
Well, how many apart from the starfish can you name?
Well, fetal, because I
Face
normally...
down. Oh, that's face down starfish.
Doggy style?
Eh? Sorry.
No, but on your side, curled up fetal, which
Yeah,
is
fetal.
normal for
Yeah,
winter. That's
okay.
a winter position.
Yeah. All right.
Starfish, when
Yeah.
you're really hot.
Yeah. Face down.
Face
Just
down.
Face down.
Well, that's starfish. God. I know. And then I was going to say hanging off the side of the bed. I don't know what another...
Pastries with you. All right, well, we'll maybe think of a poll for the next Monday show.
Forget it. I don't have three. I don't have four options.
But no, this guy was talking about the wildfires in the Cairn Gorge. I know it's a bit of a switch. But he was saying that one of the reasons why they burn
farming's
now
not safe anymore
for so long is that they've rewilded the whole area.
So it's basically all bracken and
all
gorse.
the gamekeepers used to keep fire breaks so that the fire, if it did start, would go out quicker. It wouldn't travel as far. Whereas now there's none of that. So now once the fire catches hold, they can't put it out. And it burns and burns and burns and burns. In fact, Donald MacLeod, our good friend up in Scotland, our partner, he's got a campsite up there, and they've had to evacuate it. You can't make any money because
terrible.
the people have had to be moved out of the place. It's ridiculous. So you know, it's not just the fact that it's global warming that's causing it. It's the way that they now manage the land that's causing it. And it's probably the same in France and Spain.
Yeah, no, a friend of mine who got married in this beautiful, tiny little village, well, she's actually on TV, tiny little village in southern France. Last year, the whole village is now razed to the ground. Like, this is a posh, beautiful, tiny little French village with all the media were there. It's now been razed to the ground. Ellie.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's terrible, isn't it?
Isn't that shocking to see it in reality when it's Bordeaux? In Madrid, people are being told, stay indoors, close your windows and doors.
Yeah, right.
You know, they're looking at, it's just insane.
It is. And it's almost certainly caused by it's a sort of human interaction. It's got nothing to do with, suddenly the earth is getting hotter and therefore everything's going on fire. That's not what's going on. Absolutely shocking. Quick one on Meghan. I don't know if you saw. She's inside the
I never miss a Meghan.
The Sun and there was an accidental phone call made. Like nobody was expecting it for Harry to ring into her Aussie.
So while you're on set, you're on air, you're filming, and suddenly hubby rings you, does an impromptu FaceTime, and you know why she does this? I'm sure Kinsey will be able to tell you more about this. Anytime they can get Harry on, that's the kind of money. That's the money ticket. If she does her Netflix show, they want a bit of Harry.
And that's probably how she sells it to them.
Absolutely.
Of course, we'll be able to get Harry on the show.
So he literally had to FaceTime her on a phone
and
in order to give them their 2 minutes. To give them their 2 minutes of Harry.
This is her quote. Food and cooking are how I show my nurturing and love for my friends, family, and kids.
Yeah, like with love.
Really?
Like with love, Meghan.
How much have you paid your friends for this one?
And how much did Netflix dump you fast after With Love, Meghan?
Says you can just call me Meghan. You don't have to call me Duchess.
You don't have to call me Duchess. Do you remember when she was having an interview in a big New York townhouse? And the housekeeper, it was her and the interviewer. And the housekeeper had to open the door and say, Her Royal Highness, the Duchess of Sussex, or something like that, to announce it to an empty room and an interviewer.
Got the clip.
Oh, have you?
Yes.
Oh, let's have a look.
Ridiculousness.
Let's have a look.
We've had a phone call to studio.
Hi, my love. Hi. Oh, my husband's here. I want you to meet the judges.
What's going on? Have I interrupted something important?
Well, we're actually in the middle of tasting all of the dishes. We have 4 incredible cooks here. It's amazing. They're so talented. We wish you were here. He's in Canberra right now. Yeah, we do. With the veterans.
And the chandeliers in the background. That's very nice.
I wish you could try this. These dishes are fantastic.
I see.
Yes. Can you see it okay? Really delicious, and there's a hot sauce that, well, you know me, it's a sambal, and it is so good. I don't know, I think it might be too much for you. It's spicy.
I'll go and enjoy. I'm very sorry to disturb you. All is well here, and I'll see you later.
Love you. Talk to you later. Bye.
Oh my God.
That's embarrassing,
He
right?
seems to be in an empty room.
In an empty room somewhere.
Yeah.
I mean, have you ever kept your phone on in the middle of, you're filming something, kept your phone on and then taken a call from your other half and then gone, oh, look.
Look. Yeah, sorry, I'm in the middle of something.
In the Netflix series, they said they had to get a bit of Harry and he wouldn't, and apparently he came right at the end.
Yeah.
He pretended that he was coming via the fake. It's not her kitchen, but where they filmed the kitchen.
Yeah.
So they need a bit of Harry, so they've got him on an iPhone.
That's
That is
embarrassing.
really weak.
I know. It's really bad, isn't it?
And this comes days after she released photos, apparently, of Archie and Lilibet.
Oh, yes.
On the private island in Earl Spencer's, where Princess Diana is buried, which is a total kind of desecration of her memory.
I know, that's awful. Shall we finish up with Elon Musk? Bit of Elon Musk. There's a great interview that went out at the weekend where he's being interviewed by this woman from The Economist who appears on various different TV shows from time to time, thinking of herself as very clever. But I think he stitches her up quite well. Have a look at this.
You don't even live there.
I think of it as the sort of the West collectively.
But do you see why this makes people think that this man who has all this power, he's the world's richest man, he thinks he has a right to influence our politics? It makes people, it's why, we started this conversation saying superlatives. It's why people loathe you. I mean, some people do loathe you.
Yes, some people do.
But do you understand why? Do you think what you're doing is helpful for Western democracy?
Maybe some people do loathe me. And that's probably true. I don't care. But the fact that, as you pointed out, 250 million people follow me is that I think a lot more people actually like me than don't. And I think a lot more people hate you and the media more than you realize.
So good.
That's nice.
He's
people
so good.
hate you and the media more than you realise.
I love it. He just said people hate you and the media.
Right.
Someone should say that to Andy Burnham,
Absolutely
who we are
right.
now going to call the Mayor of North.
The Mayor of Great Britain.
King of the North. He can go back to being King of the North.
Yeah.
That is it's not even the North. Mayor of the Midlands. Let's just call him the Midlands
he's
Mayor.
like Mayor of Manchester. I mean, all he talks about is Manchester. That's it, The North has fallen down.
And
I like the look of that,
Manchesterism.
by the way. I think we've done well here. I might have to get some tape.
Yeah, well,
and fix it.
it's all blowing in the wind.
It's blowing in the wind. Well, a bit like the Prime Minister's
The
ship.
answer, my friend. You see,
Yeah.
he would probably break into song right now.
Yeah, he would.
So embarrassing.
And also,
So where is he right now? Is he
Good
down
question.
here? I think Zelensky's going to
Or
Manchester.
is Zelensky going to go? He's going to invite all these people to Manchester, isn't he?
I think he's invited Trump to Manchester.
He has.
I think he has.
Yeah. So does that mean Zelensky's going to turn up in Piccadilly Gardens, with a bag full
For a
of money? I
hug.
wouldn't
For a
recommend
big
walking around there
hug.
with a bag full
I
of
bet
money.
he misses Starmer.
Oh yeah.
I bet they miss the hugs.
Yeah, maybe he's still seeing him on the side.
I think they are.
You never know. How about this? From a lot of people have been sending in great messages over the weekend on Substack. If you haven't joined Substack, you can join it and you can subscribe to it, and you get the show ad-free. You also get Ask Mike on a Sunday, and you also get various other bits and pieces of additional content which we're working on. But this from Pat, who says, thanks for your message today. You're looking very relaxed with Ziggy chilling as well. This was on the thing yesterday. We'll be listening to you as we head off to Dawlish in Devon on Monday morning. That will make the journey that bit better. Always enjoy listening. So pleased you are doing so well. Have a good week.
That sounds
So that's
lovely.
nice.
Dawlish sounds really lovely.
Lovely part of the world,
Lovely
yeah.
part of the world.
I mean, the problem is getting there because the
Yeah.
roads are so bad in this country.
Yeah, of course.
That you'll be stuck. I mean, I came in this morning and expecting there to be no traffic. There's loads of traffic this morning.
It was very traffic.
People are meant to be on holiday.
I know.
Normally in July, it's not like this. Anyway, you got any plans for the holidays or this week or anything?
So only 43 more days to go, Mike. I've done the first.
Until he goes back to school.
I've done. Yeah. I
You're
have
looking
actually
all right
got a
though.
chart.
You're looking fine.
Okay.
You're not
I've done
looking
the first
crazed.
10 days.
Right.
Survived the big
Has it
6th
been
birthday.
10 days already?
10 days only.
Wow.
Only. 43 days to go.
Right.
And I swear to God, his energy levels of a 6-year-old, they kind of increase.
They
I thought
do.
that I would have worn him down by now.
Yeah.
Really
Right.
like rigorous, like Tower of London and
Right.
swimming and running and
Yeah.
this and that. And they kind of they increase.
God almighty.
It's absolutely
God love you.
shocking.
Well, listen, I wish you well. I wish you luck. And
Thank
say
you.
hello to Ludo for us as well.
On the day they go back, the 7th, it'll be a Monday, so I'm going to bring in a large Jeroboam
Oh, good.
and just sit here and drink.
Yeah.
Okay?
Definitely. Good idea.
Good.
Excellent. Leave the bike at home.
Yep.
Good one. Emma Wolf, thank you very much indeed. We'll see you soon.
Thank
Same
you.
time next week. We've got Will Geddes coming in very shortly. We've got more clips for you of Burnham looking like a complete and utter plonker. Beep, beep, Burnham, as we started calling him last week, because all he's doing is reversing like a bus. And he loves buses, doesn't he? Beep, 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 beep. That could just be the Burnham alert there. Let's get some news. Is it Edward Hughes?
Good morning. I'm Edward Hughes with your Monday news. Britain's 4th heatwave of the summer is already warming up, with emergency services braced for more wildfires while parts of Wales sit in official drought. July is on course to be the driest in nearly 2 centuries. Perfect timing for a nation that still can't decide whether climate change is real or just a conspiracy against hosepipes. Meanwhile, Gatwick Airport spent Sunday without running water or working toilets after a power cut at a treatment works, leaving passengers queuing for the loos and bars shut. Water's mostly back now, so at least Monday's flights can resume with the usual British dignity. And in politics, new PM Andy Burnham is busy proving he's the knob of the North, planning to meet Zelensky and promising to publicly disagree with Trump if needed, because nothing says stable government like a 7th Prime Minister in a decade still fighting the last war. Remember to like and subscribe. Laters, Tigers.
I've got a feeling I'm a bit close again to the old to the screen. Can you come back a little bit on it? Because I think if you come back a bit, you'll see my sign, which is obviously south, and over there is number 10 north. You say you don't want to be north, but you are technically North London, which is how we managed to get.
I'm West London, mate.
You're West London?
Yeah.
Yeah, but hang on, north of the river surely is North London, isn't it? Well, I suppose it's not
North
really.
of the pot, mate.
North
yeah,
of Hyde
I suppose
Park.
you're right. It is. We should get a west.
Then we're into the
we should get a 10
barbarian
west.
lands.
Yes. Nice to see you in a suit, by the way. You haven't gone the Burnham
For you,
route.
especially.
You haven't gone the Burnham route.
Well, normally I'd go the Burnham route, but
he's now
I
wearing.
got told off last time.
But he's now wearing more suits than he said he was going to wear, because he said he was only going to wear them in the House of Commons. He's now done an interview with the BBC wearing a suit and a tie. I don't know what he's going to be wearing when he meets up with mad Vlad Zelensky, who's going to be turning up. I'm not sure.
He'll probably put combats on as well.
Probably, yeah. But I mean, can you imagine it'll be? Do you know? I saw a thing at the weekend. Apparently, he's buying some very expensive clothes. Andy Burnham. I mean, like the jacket he was wearing was 450 quid. You know, it's deliberately dressed down. It's supposed to look as though it's a bit distressed, and it's actually a very famous tailor in Savile Row that he goes to.
Oh, really?
Where he spends quite a lot of money on his clothes. Yeah, so don't buy this kind of I've just thrown a t-shirt on. He hasn't just thrown a t-shirt on. He's got a t-shirt that's cost about 250 quid.
Yeah.
That he's actually possibly had made for.
Watch those expenses, shall we?
Shall we? Yeah, absolutely right. Because let's talk about the security involved, for example. Yes, what we saw on Friday when he went to number 10 North, takes a plane from Glasgow because he was at the Commonwealth Games, arrives in Manchester to be met by the Metropolitan Police sort of security detail from Downing Street, who'd presumably driven up. He's got a kind of American-style motorcade now with about 4 or 5 cars in it. Is that a new thing? Is that
that's standard. That's standard. He's almost got the same amount of coverage as President Khan has got here in London. Have you seen the number of
he's got at least 3 or 4
in the very safe city.
Yeah, so safe that he goes around in an armoured car, which cost us about 175 grand
at least.
But so this whole business of travelling up and down though, because a lot of people don't know the answer to this question. Maybe we won't find out. But it's clear that he won't be going on. He can't go on the train because that's too much of a security risk. He probably
he could actually. He could go on the train.
I mean, isn't that we've all seen Under Siege. 2. It's too easy.
Which was based on a real story.
It's too easy to hijack a train, though.
I know.
But you can.
Or
you can fire a missile at a train.
You've got to have a fat chef on there.
Or you can fire a missile at a train. I mean, these are things that you have to take into account. What about the situation with, so he can't drive all the way up there. I mean, he could. In a
like
Range
he's
Rover.
going to. We've all done that drive.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've got to do it on Friday. I'm going to go and get my son from Manchester. But what I'm saying is that if he's saying that he's going to spend every Friday there, which is what it sounds like, minimum, he's going to have to get a secure route. It's either by shutting down a load of roads, which will piss people off.
Which would always happen.
Or he's going to have to jump on a helicopter, which is going to cost money. This whole escapade, this bullshit about, sorry, excuse my French here, but it's really annoying, about starting up a second office.
Yeah.
Then in fact it's not going to cost any more money. It's going to cost loads more money.
Of course it is. Yeah. Of course
Minimum
it is.
of £1 million a year.
I mean, the joy of number 10 is it's a security bubble. You've got those very massive gates. You've got police officers. You've got CCTV. You've got everything.
And you
there.
can bring everybody in there.
You can bring them in there.
Safe.
You can sterilise them. Make sure that they're good to come in. They're not carrying anything malicious. The problem is up at number 10. All he's doing is duplicating potentially the costs of what number 10 is to run. Up there in Manchester, and that's going to cost a lot of money, Mike, because it's not just the police, it's going to be all the physical security, the target hardening, the vehicle mitigation, the hazardous vehicle mitigation, so ramps coming up, that sort of thing.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I mean,
the
looking
windows,
at that building,
everything.
By the way, Heron House, I mean, there's a reason why he's done that. Obviously, he's been watching this show.
We love a heron.
The great success of Mike Graham's show has something to do with herons. So, in fact, there we are. Look, wonder how Mike feels about number 10 North being in Heron House. Well, I think, Sheffield Tony, that he's copied me. I think he's taken my idea of herons as a new beginning, and he's run with it. Because he's gone, that Mike Graham show's going well. Look how many viewers they've got. Biggest show on breakfast in Britain. And maybe we can have a bit of that success. So we'll go to Heron House. That's what I think. In fact, we're thinking we might send him a heron through the post. What would happen? What would happen?
Not sure he will get through, Mike.
Or maybe I'll take one up there with me on Saturday.
And lob it over the wall.
Just go and see if I can knock on the door and go, excuse me, I'm from the Mike Graham
I'm
show.
coming with you, buddy.
I've got a heron.
Can I come?
Yeah, there we go. Yeah,
excellent.
Thank you very much indeed. You want it? Yeah, no, I don't want it, no. But that's the one I can take.
I'm getting molested by a heron by Charlotte.
Charlotte's trying to get the heron to jump on me. So for example, from the look of Heron House, you know, the ramp that existed down the street and the gates and all that, there's none of that there.
No, they're going to have to retrofit all of that. It's going to be damn expensive.
Because it looks like as you come out the main entrance, you just come out onto the street.
Yeah.
So there's no... You know, I mean, cars can go there, presumably.
Yeah.
They've put one of those orange and white fences around it.
I mean...
Like they put around the toilets at Gatwick.
Yeah.
You know, it's not exactly secure, is it?
I mean, you would hope that someone's actually done a review and said... because it's not just the building itself and getting to the building, but it's getting into neighbouring buildings, which are in close proximity.
Who's across the way? And
exactly.
have they put bulletproof glass? Have they got bulletproof glass?
The Free Palestine head office is just across the road.
Yeah, there you go. But this is the thing, you know, these are all serious considerations.
Yeah,
because
big
the
time.
Prime Minister of this nation needs to be protected.
Well, it's my bread and butter, Mike.
You know,
going round and reviewing these sort of places and going, you know, not just look at the physical security of that building where the principal's going to be held or the VIP, but it's looking at who's in proximity. Is anybody else? Are there vacant offices that could be potentially exploited? Are there any opposition or any particular groups there that are on, you know, the radar?
What
in
about
terms of
access
threats?
from the roof? All sorts of stuff, right? Because
it's
it's not a standalone building.
No,
there are other buildings which are very close by.
Yeah.
So you know, the whole thing just stinks to me.
It's so indulgent.
And also, what's your view of how quickly this has all been done? Because there's plenty of people saying it doesn't look as though this was done overnight, shall we say. It looks as though they were planning this for a while. Their excuse is that, it was being used by GCHQ for some other reason. And you're going, really?
Well,
you seem to be sharing the building with other people.
Yeah.
You know,
hopefully GCHQ left a bit of kit behind.
Has anybody been doing any due diligence on security or, you know, all of this stuff?
I mean, if it was a former sort of security services building, whether that be GCHQ or a related agency, then it would have had what we call List X sort of categorising, which means that it would be a heck of a lot safer than a standard building.
Yeah, but it wouldn't just be something you'd go, what do we do? Oh, I'm Prime Minister now. I've got this idea.
Oh, it's available. Let me jump in there.
See if you could find a secure building that happens to be vacant that might be able to be used in the next 2 days.
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, can you print up some, you know, number 10 North type, you know, accoutrements so that we can put them on the walls and we can hang things over there and we can get some plants in and we can get some, you know, he was there within 4 days of becoming Prime Minister.
Yeah.
Monday, he did his, in fact, shall we play that?
It's nice to see he's got his priorities in the right place.
Shall we play the 5 things I did last week by the boy Burnham? Have a look.
Here's 5 things I've done in my first week as Prime Minister. On Monday, I launched a new national drive to end rough sleeping. On Tuesday, I announced a tax cut on energy bills. Wednesday, a £2 cap on bus fares across England. On Thursday, a 20% cut on business rates for thousands of pubs, clubs and music venues. And on Friday, I opened number 10 North, which is going to drive power out of Whitehall and Westminster into every postcode across the country. People said these things can't be done, that rough sleeping is just a fact of life, that your bills and transport fares can't be cheaper, that your local pub, well, it's just going to have to close, and that moving power out of Westminster is too hard. Well, I've shown them this week. And
we got some more hair gel on Friday. Got some more hair gel on Friday.
To get things done, to give you more breathing space, to give your communities more power, and to make Britain better off. And most of all, to bring back hope.
Bring back hope. Is that the name of his secretary or something?
I think so, yeah. She did a really good job
come
when
back
he was
over here.
back.
I mean, you know, he hasn't done anything. You know, I've proved it. I've shown them, he goes, I've shown them I can do things. Well, you do what? He hasn't stopped rough sleeping, right? He hasn't stopped rough sleeping. The 90p a week he's giving us, we're not going to see it until October, right? And it's even less than the bills have already gone up, so that's not really helping us. Yeah. The bus fares are all going to be subsidised by taxpayers who don't use buses, so that's going to cost an absolute fortune. And many people have said to me, you know, my bus used to cost £1, now it's going to cost £2 because it's a flat fare, right? And then finally, of course, the pubs. He talks about pubs keeping open. 2 pubs a day have been closing under Rachel Reeves.
Yeah.
Right? So there's a lot fewer pubs now than
I've seen some of the publican community
this is from
getting
John.
very upset.
See, I wanted to do this. Is he Craig David?
Yeah.
You expect him to go, you know, we're making love by Wednesday, and on Thursday and Friday and Saturday, chill on Sunday, and go out on Laura Kunsberg's show on Monday. I mean, it's ridiculous, isn't it? I mean, we might as well have hired, you know, I don't know, Liam Gallagher.
Yeah.
Oh, at least you'd have had some fun.
I don't think
with him.
Liam Gallagher would go anywhere near that, would he?
No, but Liam, at least, I mean, he's from Manchester, genuinely from Manchester. It's like Noel, I mean, he looks a bit like Noel Gallagher. But I'd rather have either one of them. You know, at least they do, because they're quite right-wing as well. Those two.
Absolutely. I mean, I think you played the clip earlier. The thing that I've really loved was that, and I think I may have sent it to you on the weekend, was that sort of comparable between Andy Burnham walking around his office going, oh, and here's a paperweight, here's this, and David Brent from The Office.
That is
and
brilliant. Yeah, I think we did. I think we did a bit of that actually on Friday.
So
but
good.
it is totally insane. It's just ridiculous what he's doing, and it's kind of embarrassing, isn't it?
Yeah, he's not playing the statesman role. I mean, this is the problem that we've had in this country.
Yeah.
We don't have any statesmen as such.
Well, we've now gone from the man who was the most useless, hopeless communicator of all time, who was awkward, couldn't really talk to anybody, didn't understand the British public. So this bozo, he's like a clown. You know. Has he forgotten Makerfield? Well, he hasn't even been to Makerfield, has he?
No.
I mean, you'd think now that he's got number 10 North, he could pop across to Makerfield, which is actually in Greater
Manchester. Not that far away,
It's in Greater Manchester. He could get in his Range Rover and drive there. Right.
And say, thanks, everybody.
Yeah. And just say, thanks for electing me Mayor of Great Britain.
You know what? He is the Mayor of Great Britain. When I heard you talking about that with Emma earlier, it reminded me of Ahmed Karzai, who was the president of Afghanistan. And you'd ask the local Afghanis when I was down there, and they'd say he was the Mayor of Kabul. That was all he was. He wasn't president of Afghanistan. He was the Mayor of Kabul. And the same with Andy Burnham. He's the Mayor of Great Britain.
It is absolutely extraordinary. And as I say, there are so many stories that he should be worrying about, like, for example, there's apparently there's an outbreak, this is on the front page of the Star today, an outbreak of loads of people going to petrol stations, filling up their car with petrol, and then driving off and not paying.
Really?
Because they've decided it's too expensive. I don't know if you've got petrol lately, but I got some on Friday, and it's gone back up to
damn expensive.
154,
I filled up on the weekend.
155 again. In some places I've seen it's 160 already.
That's insane.
You know, because we've got, the Straits of Hormuz closed again, and all of that's going on.
And the Red Sea looking
We
all
haven't heard him
messy.
really talking about that at all. He doesn't know what he's doing there, does he?
No. And he's entertaining Zelensky, and it's just too ironic that Zelensky would turn up with his begging bowl within the second week of Burnham being on the ground. What a surprise!
What a surprise! Yeah. So who's he going to get next?
Especially as he's got rid of Reeves, and Reeves pledged that $3 billion a year.
She's gone very quiet, by the way. I noticed on her Twitter account. Do you know what she calls herself now?
Richard III?
Not Richard III. No, she calls herself MP for wherever it is she's MP for, and former economist at the Bank of England. It doesn't say former Chancellor. It says former economist at the Bank of England. And you go,
bitter? Much?
No, I don't think you were, mate. I think would be my phrase. I don't think you were. What about this one that they could look at? 900 plus have crossed on supersized dinghies in his first week. Now, here's another thing. He hasn't.
Have you seen the size of these things?
Yeah, they take 165
huge.
people now. I mean, it's like bigger than a coach.
I would have thought reasonably easy to sink.
Here we are. They're calling him.
Did I say that?
Yeah, I don't know what you mean. Burnham's boats. They're calling him. Look at that.
Burn the boats?
No, Burnham boats.
Right. Okay.
900 Channel migrants arrived in Andy Burnham's first week in number 10. People are piling onto these new supersized dinghies dubbed Burnham boats. I like that. I think that will stick. Home Office figures show 881 arrived in Dover since crossings resumed on Wednesday, including 165 on a 42-foot long mega dinghy. 42 feet's longer than a bus, isn't it?
That's huge.
He likes a bus as well. I mean, that's more people you can get on a bus. So when's he going to mention the word immigration? I'm going to run a poll today.
I don't know.
Actually, we should put the poll out.
Put up this poll.
Can we see the poll? Because I forgot to do this earlier. We did a poll earlier today.
It's the holiday one.
It's the holiday one.
Oh, I
it's the
voted on
holiday
this.
season. Favourite thing to do on holiday: line of beach, 29%. Tour local ruins, 24%. Pooch made a very sexist comment earlier about that.
Did he?
Hang on. Get to the airport early, 9%. Not Gatwick. And then complain the MG show starts too late. 38%. That's what people really like doing, apparently.
There you go. The loyal supporters.
Which is a bit harsh, isn't it? Donald says you should lose your nana in the poll. Yeah, there was a funny set of pictures that went out over the weekend where you've got these four pictures here. You can see where they're all standing there having their picture taken, and the granny disappears in the water. They actually noticed that she's gone. They're too busy posing.
Poor Nana.
I know, poor Nana. There we are.
There we go.
So yeah, you see the top left picture. There she is.
She's gone.
Second to the right, she's falling. Third, she's under the water, and then fourth she's gone altogether.
I hope that's Nana off to the right.
I hope so.
She hasn't been swept out of sea or been eaten by a shark or
I
something.
hope so. Yeah, that wouldn't be good.
Yeah, that's going to ruin your holiday,
Page
isn't it?
17 of the Daily Telegraph, Labour business rates killing the high street. That's a message coming from... So all this nonsense of him, giving cheaper business rates to pubs and clubs and
nonsense.
Hospitality venues is not helping most people. And then this other story, which I think is extraordinary, and you'll again there's a security aspect to this.
Yeah.
There's an Iranian charity, which I think is an Islamic bookshop
Yes.
in the UK, which has been bringing in skilled workers on work visas, which the Home Office has allowed them to do.
Funny that, especially as the Quds Force Unit 700, which is basically their logistics arm of operations,
bunch of Quds, have been, that's what I call them.
Yeah, but they're now supposedly actually managing most of the actual illegal immigrant movements into the UK.
Right.
So like we hadn't been already aware that we've probably got hostile forces inserting themselves, incurring into the United Kingdom. Well, it's now been confirmed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, as well, Nigel Farage has been warning about this. I think we've got a clip of Nigel talking to Parliament, was it last week, about Iran? Have we got that one?
Nigel Farage.
Yeah. Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. The Home Secretary will be aware that 5 years ago I warned that if we didn't leave the ECHR and deport immediately those that arrived in Dover via small boats, that there would be an invasion. And sure enough, I was right.
Yeah.
Today, a further 600 young men already today have been processed through Dover. Perhaps the odd Iranian terrorist among them. Who knows?
How do you know? How do you know?
Does the Home Secretary accept
How do you know
that their policy of smash the gangs is a complete and total failure? And if that's the case, why should we believe anything else they said today?
Jeremy Corbyn in the background
100%.
going, how do you know that? Well, it turned out to be true, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. The Telegraph actually did a really good piece on this and about what they've been doing and how they've been inserting Iranians in here. We've had some 30 plots in the last couple of years that have been followed by the security services. And these have included not only intimidation of Iranians who are here that are opposed to the regime, and the IRGC, but there's also been kidnappings, there have been potential terrorist plots, there are all sorts. And we're still in a country where the Muslim Brotherhood, which is a prescribed terrorist group everywhere else in the world, apart from here in
including
the UK.
in the Middle East, by the way, right? You can't be in the Muslim Brotherhood in Dubai, in Saudi Arabia, in Bahrain, or Kuwait, or any of those countries. Even in Egypt, I think it's...
well, they had the biggest problem in Egypt. That was one of the biggest areas of problems with the Muslim Brotherhood. So, them still being allowed. That's a quick win for Burnham to basically turn around and say, right, we're prescribing the Muslim Brotherhood as a terrorist organisation. That will at least try and interrupt
but the
their
trouble
operations.
is, again, you've got this kind of overarching feeling with the Labour Party, not least the Labour government, that they don't wish to upset the Muslim community. I mean, look at the way, for example, that people were reacting yesterday to that terrible...
the attack in Berlin?
Terrorist attack in Berlin, which was carried out by an Islamist, a man who had been to Lebanon and joined ISIS after serving time
trying to get into Syria,
committing a terrorist offence in Germany once already. I mean, even in Germany, they're now asking questions about how is it possible that this guy was freed from a custodial sentence and allowed to go back into the community
for a year and 8 months,
knowing what they knew, which was that he was a member of ISIS and that he was a sworn enemy of the West, right? And then, of course, he drives a car into a crowd of people at an LGBT parade, and the first kind of instinct of a lot of Labour MPs and Sadiq Khan was to blame it all on some kind of anti-gay sort of mantra. Saying that, and in fact, there was the Sky News last night. I was watching that.
I watched that. It was disgusting.
I was some of the stuff that they were reporting on. They had a guy on who was, I think, one of the councilmen from Berlin, who was a member of the gay community. He started blaming Donald Trump. Saying, this is the kind of rhetoric that causes violence in anti-gay communities. And it's like, mate, this guy's an Islamist, right? He doesn't care whether you're gay or not. He cares because he actually wants to destroy the West. That's why he's running you over.
Exactly. And there was some female spokesperson who stood up and said, I hope that the attacker was a white Christian male.
Yes.
I mean, you couldn't make this stuff up. I mean,
you really couldn't.
I think the lobotomies have obviously been going at cheap rates at the moment for a lot of people.
There's also, I think there's if I can find it, there's an MP, a Labour MP, who's also done it. This is from Sadiq Khan, right? My thoughts are with everyone affected by the horrific attack in Berlin and their families. This appalling act of violence, not acts of terrorism.
Terrorism.
Has
Thank
no
you.
place in our society. London stands in solidarity with Berlin's LGBTQ plus community. This is why pride matters. Those who seek to spread hatred and division will never win. You think you might mention the fact that it's an Islamic terrorist attack carried out by somebody who was born in Germany but whose parents came from Lebanon, who basically has been a sworn member of ISIS for several years. I mean, what on earth are they thinking?
I know. The interesting stuff coming out on the Seattle mass shooting last night as well. I don't know whether you caught that.
Yeah, I saw that this morning that had happened, but I don't know what it is.
So it's a thing called, it was a festival which was called Bite of Seattle, which was basically a sort of farmer's market, food market, that sort of thing. People turned up. This individual with an AR-15 basically started shooting. I think 3 people confirmed killed. Quite a few casualties.
Child, I think, right?
Yeah, child as well was included in the fatalities. And the individual was known within the community to be an Islamic extremist.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean...
No SH1T, Sherlock.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And yet hardly any reporting of it this morning in the mainstream media.
Oh, very little.
Because they just don't like doing it.
Very little.
Yeah, I think it was Kate Osborne. I'm not quite sure if she's still
watching
left it
Sky
up.
News reporting on it, Mike, I was just like, why? They're wondering why their viewing numbers are collapsing and people don't want to go to them. They used to be really good. Used to be really good.
I think Kate Osborne has probably reneged on that tweet and got rid of it. But she was another one who was basically going on about the sort of the right-wing hatred, and she was blaming GB News and the Reform Party,
of course,
for somebody driving a car at some people in
hiring
Berlin.
a van, and then driving into people, and then getting out of the van with a machete and starting to hack people
stab
up.
people. You know, when is this going to stop? You know, when on earth are they going to end the ridiculous kind of, you know, nonsensical kind of kowtowing to this Muslim community?
Well, it's not accurate reporting. Well, it's not accurate reporting in the first instance. I mean, why? This is such a perfect example of why people don't trust the mainstream media, because they're just not accurately reporting, or they're dressing it up in word soup to basically say, oh, let's keep this as grey as possible. I mean, I remember when I used to go on many of those channels and be invited in as a guest, and we would speak it as we saw it. And yes, if it was speculation, it was speculation. But, you know, what's the point of getting someone like me on a show who's got background in that area of basically understanding the signatures? Yeah, probably.
Well, that doesn't fit the narrative, I'm afraid, Mr. Will Geddes. Get out. You know, let's not get him back on. You know, and this is it. Chris Rose put this out yesterday. It's really good because she's obviously got rid of her tweet. She was obviously told to. Someone should tell Labour MP Kate Osborne that pride events and Christmas markets don't have diversity barriers up to stop Reform UK or GB News, which I think is
a very valid point.
A very valid.
It's a very valid point.
Indeed. I've got some good news for you though.
Have you, mate?
On the old on the reason why the mainstream media kowtow to this politically correct nonsense and how they don't tell the truth and how they're in cahoots with the government. I've written a book.
Have you?
I have. Which I delivered just last night. Can you reach that?
Well done, you, mate. Shall I pop it up?
It's all about the mainstream media's kind of unholy alliance, if you like, with the powers that be, to make sure that we never really find out the truth. And I'm doing it through Mike Fairclough. Who's got a publishing company called Fisher King.
Brilliant.
So we're hoping to get it out in the next few weeks.
Oh, wow, that is quick.
Big news, I wrote it in a week, basically.
Well done, mate.
You know, because I write quick.
I bet you do.
Yeah, so thanks to Mike Fairclough, we're going to be getting a book out soon.
Looking forward to seeing that. You're going to talk about Rika?
I think we're going to talk about all sorts of things that, you know, nobody knows about. Some really good stories in there as well.
Nice.
About the time I was almost recruited as a spy.
There you go.
Anyway, listen, Will Geddes, great to see you.
You too, buddy.
You're very welcome to hang around.
If you want me to hang around, put it to the vote.
We put it to the vote. We always love you to hang around.
If you want me to hang around, I'll hang around.
Yeah, we do. Absolutely love it. Some great comments coming in, by the way, on the live chat on YouTube. Keep it coming. Don't forget, coming up, UK Live Online at 10 o'clock, Kelvin MacKenzie. Is it Kelvin today?
Yes.
It will be. Kelvin MacKenzie's back, and he'll be talking to you about a great many things. Also, we've got loads more super chats coming in as well. Should we do a couple of those before we get to the news with Edward Hughes? One from LTL, Knob of North. Yeah, absolutely right. I mean, good question today. Where is he? Is he there? Is he coming down here? Why can't we just have someone normal in charge, this cookie boy? Yeah, that would be good. Bless you. Charlotte. Why can't we just have someone normal in? Is there anybody normal in the Labour Party? I think that's the first question. I don't think there is. Was that Gail Platt from Corrie as slides in the guitar incident? Yeah, it looks a bit like her. Simon Kilford, thank you very much indeed for a super chat. Very kind. One from Peace Planet as well. Thank you for yours. These are great. I've watched you every morning, but this morning I had to search for you. It's already started, says Linda. Really? Tell me more. I don't know what that means, because they're already trying, obviously, to and that's going to be in the book as well, this idea of repressing the algorithm. Number 10, Heron House, is also a registry office, says Gillian. A lady is getting married there and is concerned about all the police and security outside. Not ideal for wedding photographs. I think it'd be quite good fun to have a wedding photograph with some armed police in the background.
You could do a nice...
all 106 Beefeater restaurants will shut for good on Thursday, September the 10th, owned by Whitbread. Yeah, I think I read about this before, that all the Beefeaters are shutting down. Toby Carvery's are slimming down a bit as well.
I'm very upset about that.
Which is very bad news.
I'm very upset about that. I like a Toby Carvery.
Yeah, well, so does Anna. Will, you only need to sink one or two of these giant inflatables. Bad news travels quick on the Chancellor Migrant Network.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, this is the thing.
Oh, no, these big ones would be easy to take out.
Yeah.
I think I may have to get my diving knife and
165
wetsuit out.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand why they don't do that in the shallows in Calais.
Yeah.
Right? How to receive eternal life. You have to admit that you are a sinner. Who's this from? CDH. Yeah, okay.
Is this me again?
Yeah.
I've been singing. I have been.
I mean, I don't mind if you want to admit you're a sinner. I'm not a sinner, so I'm not admitting it. Not now. Not never. How about this? Fantastic. Might do Craig David, says Lulu. Yeah. I mean, I think Andy Burnham.
I think the single's got to come out.
You've got to do it soon, haven't we?
Yeah.
What is it? We were making love by Wednesday, and on Thursday and Friday and Saturday, killed on Sunday. Yeah, anyway.
It's up there with the Meghan impression.
It is. Let's do some news, shall we, with Edward Hughes.
I'm Edward Hughes with your Monday news. Britain's fourth heat wave of the summer is already warming up, with emergency services braced for more wildfires while parts of Wales sit in official drought. July is on course to be the driest in nearly 2 centuries. Perfect timing for a nation that still can't decide whether climate change is real or just a conspiracy against hosepipes. Meanwhile, Gatwick Airport spent Sunday without running water or working toilets after a power cut at a treatment works, leaving passengers queuing for the loos and bars shut. Water's mostly back now, so at least Monday's flights can resume with the usual British dignity. And in politics, new PM Andy Burnham is busy proving he's the knob of the North, planning to meet Zelensky and promising to publicly disagree with Trump if needed. Because nothing says stable government like a 7th Prime Minister in a decade still fighting the last war. Remember to like and subscribe. Laters, Tigers.
Thank you very much indeed. There you are. We've got a few signs this morning, as you might see. South is what we've got here. You've got North, even though he says he should have a West sign. Number 10 North, of course, is been put up there as some kind of new, fascinating, brilliant idea. Looking forward to the book, Mike. Congratulations, says Mary. Thank you very much. Well, as soon as I know when it's coming out, you will know. And in fact, we're talking to Mike Fairclough about it, hopefully this week sometime. Manchester Town Hall, says DMAS, 534 million refurbishment budget, now had to add another 75 million. So over budget. That's what we're paying for with number 10 of the North.
Jeez.
How do they come up with these figures? 534 million quid. To do what?
To do what? A lick of paint.
Right, a lick of paint, and, clean the outside of the building with a power hose or something.
And then we've got the homeless issue, we've got the veterans homeless issue, we've got so many issues in this country, and let's redecorate our home with the taxpayer money.
His first, his first sort of enunciation as Prime Minister on the steps of Downing Street, I will issue my first instruction. I mean, he's so nebulous and so big-headed. I will issue my first instruction to
the decorators
to end rough sleeping, as if you click your fingers and that's the end of it.
Yeah.
Well, of course, he hasn't ended it in Manchester. In fact, there's more people rough sleeping now than there were when he started. Right. Yeah. So I'm sorry, he doesn't have the magic touch. He doesn't have the Midas touch at all. Normally, at the top of my algorithm, says Andy, when I open YouTube, I had to search for it today. Now that is interesting. I found the show on Wall TV quickly, but on my phone was a real struggle. Well, I haven't tried. We should all try that.
I found it easily enough.
I mean, I did as well. But you see, when I go onto YouTube on my iPad, it's in the search engine. It's right. It's right at the top.
Yeah.
So I just search for it.
Oh, mine just comes straight up on the homepage. Yeah.
Let me see what happens if I go to YouTube.
Because I stalk the show regularly.
Yeah. So do I. See, mine comes up at the top of the show.
I even actually logged on to Pooch's test broadcast last night as well.
I see. Is the above video a good suggestion for you? Yeah, I'm going to say yes. Why is it a very good recommendation? Calming, yes. Entertaining, yes. Novel, yes. Informative, yes. Useful, yes. Submit. That should help the algorithm. Everybody should do that, right?
Yeah.
Go up there, and if it says, does it helpful? Yes, I put the show on and it went to another channel, says Sue. Wow.
Yeah. Are you liking the show, though? If you
this is
because
why
some people may not be liking the show, and if you like it, the algorithm picks up on that.
This is why we need everyone to like the show. At the moment, you see, we've got 14,000 people watching and only 2,000 likes. So can everybody who's watching just like the show, please?
Yeah.
You may have already done
that. And everyone
that,
in chat as well.
but just keep doing it, because the more you do it, we all stalk the show, says Peace Planet. Yeah, and I know this is going to sound slightly self-serving, but we've got to be self-serving because the powers that be are against us. You know, they don't like this. They do not want me to be as successful as I am. They do not want this show to spread the truth about things, right? They do not want you to know, for example, that climate change, and we're about to talk to Paul Burgess about it, is not man-made, right? They don't want you to know the truth about the migrant problem. They don't want you to know why some kind of Islamic bookshop is able to interview people and give them visas to come and work in this country as skilled workers. I had to go to subscriptions to find your show, says Woodsky. See, this is quite an interesting development.
Yeah.
I had to search for the show also on Friday and today. So do me a favour,
if people
everyone.
like it,
go
they will get it.
to the show that you're watching now. Look at the like button, and if you haven't pressed it, please press it. And let's just see how many we can get, because maybe we can get it up to if there's 14,000 people watching, why haven't we got 14,000 likes?
Yeah.
Can we do that?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yes.
Charlotte,
2-second job.
You're the expert on YouTube. Morning, Mike. Didn't need to look for your show. It popped up straight away. Have a blessed day, says Dennis. Listen, we're all in the same boat here. We're all trying our best to try and make it as well subscribed to as possible. It doesn't cost you any money. I'm not asking for money.
You know what I find interesting, and if people want to see, if you go to, and I regularly do this, Mike, anyway, because I'm obviously a massive fan, and you look at other competitor breakfast shows, and you look at the viewing numbers, and they're tiny compared to the number of people watching this show. But there are so many people on the chat here, which is amazing, and all saying lovely things.
We've got a very high engagement level.
Oh, huge. But
So
they need to press.
Click on the bell icon.
The bell icon.
So every time Mike goes live, you get alerted.
Yeah.
Click on the bell icon.
Where is that then?
It should be.
Because I'm looking at the like button there, right?
Yeah.
Where's the bell
Morning,
icon?
mate.
Where's the bell icon then?
There should be a bell icon. It'll be on the channel. So when you go to, maybe not on the live, but when you go to find.
No, here we go. Mike at the top. There you go. There's the bell.
Oh, okay.
So you press the bell, and it will tell you basically
and then every time you go live, you get an alert.
And it says all notifications personalised, none or unsubscribed. Don't you dare press the last
that
one.
would have happened when I accidentally did the test yesterday, Will, and I didn't think it was public. I thought it was private. You obviously, people got an icon, alert.
Yeah, I got an alert, mate. Did you see me trolling you?
No.
Oh, shame. I was really trying hard. I was really trying hard.
Find it. Where's the bell? Oh, there it is.
There you go, buddy.
See, it's got turn on device notifications. Okay.
Yeah.
So you do it there.
You do that, and every time you go live,
and you're good.
everyone gets
golden, mate. Golden.
So where do I do it there?
There you go. Notifications off. So we press on here.
Okay.
Click on. There you go, mate. You're golden.
Okay, so hit the bell. There we go.
Yeah.
See, that's good.
Tune in for Will's Tech Morning next week. When is it?
Well, this is good. I'm sorry, Paul Burgess is sitting here waiting very patiently. He's probably wondering what the hell. When is he going to talk to me? But this is life and death for us, right? Yeah. Because we need to be able to make sure that we are pushed as far up the algorithm as we can do.
Yeah.
Particularly now, as the government is going to try and push it down.
Oh
right?
yes,
That's
and
what
we know they're
do.
doing. We know they're doing that.
Here's the test for today, right? Now we're at 5,500 likes. Let's get it to 14. We've got 14,000 people watching. If you all hit the like button and then all hit the bell button. Well, if you're driving, obviously, you'll have to wait till you've stopped or pull over. Let's talk to Paul Burgess instead of keeping you waiting. I'm terribly sorry. Paul, very good morning to you.
Morning. How'd you do?
I realise that I've been waffling on for far too long, but we occasionally we forget that we need to sometimes give people help to make the channel absolutely, work as well as we can make it work. Because like you, we're in the business of telling the truth. And the government doesn't like that very much, and so the more we can do it, the less they're going to like it. So, I mean, you must be tearing your hair out at the moment, looking at all these wildfire pictures and going, when are we going to hear from Ed Miliband about why it's all our fault?
Yeah, well, I've actually done a paper on this because of the nonsense that's being spread. And I don't know whether your producers got any of the graphs I sent. I sent a few graphs through.
Have you?
But
have we got some?
Right?
Oh, she's going to. Yeah, she'll put them up as we
just
speak.
put them on the screen anytime. Put them on the screen anytime.
Yeah.
But I've done two papers basically. I've done one covering the whole world of wildfires, and wildfires have been decreasing over time, really decreasing over time, and so worldwide that is not the case. We're decreasing in wildfires, and that's actually from NASA. That graph there, and that shows the red line is the decrease since 2000, right?
Yeah.
So just when you measure the wildfires as just standalone, as it were, they're decreasing. Now, I don't know whether you've got the other graph I sent, because that is really quite dramatic. It goes back to 1920, and it shows the decline in the USA of wildfires. That's it there. Thank you.
That's huge,
now,
isn't it?
Let me explain it, first of all, because there's reasons behind this. So in science, it's not just good enough to show the stats. You've got to explain it.
Yeah.
Now, let me first of all say, forests, actually, fire in forests is natural. Trees don't grow forever. And so forests replenish themselves, maybe hundreds of years apart, maybe 100 years or whatever. They replenish themselves by burning down. That's natural.
Right.
Eventually, a forest is going to burn down. There's no way around it. But man decided to get in the way of that. And what the big controlling factor is this. What we call the ground fuel load, which is all the twigs and sticks and branches on the ground. Now, over time, that builds up and you get a lot of fuel load. So let's now swap to Australia 2019, massive fire worldwide. In fact, my boat, I sailed around the world in my boat with my wife, and I was in Auckland, New Zealand, getting covered in ash from a fire in America. Sorry, in Australia. And that the Aborigines there used to burn the ground load when it was small. So the fire would go through the brush, but it wasn't big enough to catch hold of the trunks. It would just burn the rubbish off, and it would be maintained by the Aborigines. All the woke nonsense stopped this worldwide, actually. So what we had on that peak, you can see, is natural fires, if you like. And that was the 1930s, very hot, very warm, warmer than today, actually. I know people disagree with that, but it was. And we saw the decline because of management of the ground load.
Yes.
Yeah. And so we got that under control. So you see the nice big flat bit in the middle, and then the woke nonsense took over, and we started to see the rise. Lots of big fluctuations. We started to see the rise because of lack of management.
Yes.
Right. And so it's down to ground load overwhelmingly. So my paper, which is on Substack, and they're all free. Everything I do is free. That explains worldwide in a proper way, in a balanced technical way, but easy for anyone to read. And the conclusion is, and it starts off with all the quotes from our politicians, and it's got about 15 or 20 quotes. And those quotes are all from Green or Labour or Scottish National, all the left-wing parties. And so it's a political thing, this, really. And I've done another paper on Scotland, a little mini paper, 2 pages, which concludes with, I'll just read the conclusion of that one. That's the fuel load there. Oh, I don't seem to have that to hand. But it's here. The conclusion of that one for Scotland is political assertions that Scotland's experience of climate-driven escalation in wildfires are therefore not supported by the primary observational and historical record. The principal controllable factor identified in that record is the management or non-management of ground load. And that's what it's about. So that's what I do. I just bring the evidence. And what you'll find is the Climate Change Committee, which should be done away with, says, oh no, we're 6 times more likely to have fires. And that's called what we call, it looks at to see the signal, the fingerprint, and they base it on a ridiculous statistical thing. When you ask artificial intelligence about this, it says, oh yeah, I say, well, why do they use this? Because in science, if it doesn't agree with observation, it's wrong. One of the most famous professors in the world said, no matter how clever you are, no matter how many letters after your name, right? No matter how good your theory sounds, if it doesn't agree with the world when it goes out there, you're wrong, not the world. Because all science is trying to understand the world. So that's what I did. And you can also link this, believe it or not, to the current other story that's going around at the moment, which is what I try to do, and that's the hosepipe ban down in your part of the world.
Yes.
I'm not suffering from it. I'm in Southwest Wales, so I'm not suffering from it.
Yeah.
But you are. But actually, the cause of that is immigration. If you look at I used to be in charge of water resource planning for Wales, and the figures are here. 1975, the pair had, every couple would have 1.8 children.
Yeah.
That was insufficient to maintain the population. By 2024, we're down to 1.41, and that is largely even 1.41 because of the immigrant population. So in the southeast, you've had a 41% increase in population that wasn't planned for.
Yeah.
Mainly due to immigration since the 1970s. And although that came in much later, I know, but you're 41%. Now, each person on average consumes 150 litres a day or so. That's about the figure. Right? And don't forget, it isn't just what you drink. A third of it goes down the toilet. Another part goes in the washing machine and everything else, and what you consume.
And the showers and the baths and all the rest of it, right?
That's right, everything. So all of that means that had we not had the immigration, you wouldn't be having a hosepipe ban. And this is an example. I'm not going on about immigration by itself. I'm just stating facts here. Right?
Well, I say this, Paul, all the time, is that, there's an awful lot of things that have got worse in terms of the service sector, indeed including the NHS, because there are more people using it. I keep saying this all the time, that there's a reason the roads are more blocked. There's a reason that, the trains are busier. There's a reason why, you can't get a doctor's appointment. There's a reason why you can't get water, and it's the same reason. There's too many people.
But the other point is, if you're going to do water, which is a 50-year planning horizon for reservoirs, and you are limited, we've got a lot of chalk aquifers down your part of the world.
Yeah.
So the aquifers are really at their limits. They're really big.
What's an aquifer? Tell us what that is.
Sorry, the boreholes down into the chalk, which suck out the water from an aquifer. They're your groundwater. Yeah.
Right.
Where in Wales we have a lot of surface water in reservoirs. Yeah.
Right.
So you're really at the limit in terms of that. The problem here is the cost of putting this right takes decades, and the cost of putting it right is in the many, many billions.
Yeah.
So when infrastructure is stretched, and I used to say this, look, we were back when I was campaigning on it 20 years ago. I was used to say, look, we're replacing the city of Cardiff every 18 months at that time. Yeah. And I said, but it isn't just the city. It's the fire stations. It's the hospitals.
Yeah.
It's the factories. It's the roads. It's everything else.
Right.
And so infrastructure, that when people arrive in the country, they borrow the infrastructure, in effect, that's been established over 100 more years.
Yeah.
I mean, we still exist mainly, frankly, on Victorian sewers.
Well, I mean, that's one of the reasons why the water companies are in such a bad way, is because their piping system is not fit for purpose. They leak billions and billions of litres of water into the ground every bleeding day. So the idea that they're going to ask people not to use water is laughable, isn't it?
Yeah, but the whole way that it was privatised was wrong. I don't believe in it being public, by the way, and I worked in the public
Well, that won't
sector.
be any better, will it?
Pardon?
It won't be any better if they nationalise it, will it?
No, it'd be worse, I promise you, because what the public one did was cover up, and cover up. I left and became a whistleblower.
Yeah, absolutely right. Now, how about this for a bit of news this morning? The Foreign Secretary, Ed Miliband, who's no longer the Net Zero Secretary, thank God, but he's forgotten that, is to indicate that he will put the climate crisis and overseas development at the heart of UK international relations by taking up the country's seat on the board at the World Bank. Now, what do you make of that?
Well, it's just madness. What he's going to do is try to drive all the international agreements, isn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, it's all us paying. It's always the British consumer, the British citizen, paying for all these wild ideas.
Yeah.
They're scrapping around for so many billion on defence at the moment, but we still choose to give 11-12 billion a year away on overseas aid, which actually, in terms of climate aid, this is, and this is making those countries worse. It's not making them better. They're better off going for fossil fuels in Africa. They've got all the coal, use the coal.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree with you more. And I mean, I was watching, I don't know if you saw it on social media, and people are, by the way, asking for your Substack so they can go and find it. But
if you go
we'll put it up on the screen probably. But
Thank you.
But that's one
There's
thing.
lots of papers there on every subject.
No, I'm sure. No, you're getting a great deal of warmth and encouragement this morning from our viewers who are, because they want to hear the truth. You know, they love hearing the truth, and they know the truth when they hear it. Because what we do know, for example, is that when you see, like I saw a little video on the weekend. I don't know if you saw this, Will. It was a farmer in Scotland, and he was behind the sort of. He was in a field. Talking into his camera, and he was showing you where the smoke was rising in the Cairngorms, you know. And he just described exactly why it was happening, and the fact that they've rewilded all these areas, they got rid of the sheep, they stopped the ability of the gamekeepers and the kind of the locals to build fire breaks, which used to always be there. They're all very much the same things that you're saying. And, you know, it's incredible to me that many people who work on the land and who live on the land and have said the same thing in Australia, the same thing in America, that, you know, this ridiculous woke kind of, you know, reorganising of the countryside has made this more possible. I'm sure it's true in France and Spain as well.
It is. I mean, Spain, the worst fires in Spain were in the 1980s and early 90s. And so we've gone less in Spain in that way. But the frequency's gone less, but the size has increased because they are simply not, they've started to do it now. They have not managed the land. If you leave land alone, eventually fuel load will build up and you'll have a fire. As simple as that. That's why you'll see the burning in Scotland in the old days. I think it was called Mayburn or something they called it. All that got stopped. And fire is a natural part of the environment. Yeah, and you only have to think of common sense terms to understand that.
Yeah, exactly right. And so, I mean, in terms of how the country will learn from this, if it will learn from it, it won't, will it? I mean, because the people who are running our countryside now are not interested in hearing. They're sort of sticking their fingers in their ears going, we don't want to listen to that. We don't want to hear these stories that we've somehow caused this problem.
But it's willful ignorance. It's ignorance on the part of the politicians, and it's willful. And the fact it's coming mainly from the left now, the fact that the right has begun, and by the way, they've been bad, the Conservatives were as bad as anyone with all this. It was May who put the Climate Change Act in. Yeah. So, but now it seems to be just the left saying all this. And it's like they don't want to know. No one ever wants to debate me. I mean, people have tried to arrange so many debates now. I've had, come on, I'm definitely going to get these purple again, you know, and it never happens because no one wants to deal with the evidence. So it drives me bonkers. I'm 81. I get driven bonkers.
Are you really? You look even in better shape than Kelvin MacKenzie. He's not quite as old as that, but he's getting up there. But people are loving what you're saying. I mean, you can certainly, we'll try and find people. I mean, the last time we had you on debating with that moron, what was his name? Jim Dale. I mean, he's such an idiot. He's like comedy climate change fanatic.
It is.
Because he doesn't know anything. He literally has no qualifications.
He doesn't know.
No, I know.
He doesn't know enough. And it's so bad, actually. I'd rather debate a professor or someone because it'd be easier for me, because I could deal with evidence. But with Jim, it was quite funny on GB News once. The producer said, before we started the day before, he said, Jim's got his own graph this time. So therefore, you know, you can't have one. I said, oh, it doesn't work that way. Right. So, no, he's got to have a term for his graph. This is mental.
Why can't they have both graphs?
I said to, pardon?
Why couldn't they just have both graphs?
No, hold on. So what happened was, I said to my wife, I think I know what graph he's got, because he's so ignorant, you can guess sometimes. So I actually got the graph out that he was going to use. So he sat there with Nana Akua before the show, and he got, there's my graph. And I said, good, it's the same as mine then. Great, I can explain that one.
Brilliant.
and so I completely took the ground away. But that's the only time he tried to get...
But I mean, it's a bit like, you know, it's a bit like beating a one-armed man in a boxing competition, isn't it? I mean, it's not really difficult. It's not much of a challenge.
It's entertainment.
It is funny, but I don't like to give him the oxygen publicity too often, because, as you say, he's a complete charlatan. Talks absolute rubbish.
Try to get the leader of the climate change party on. He managed to get 18 votes in Markerfield.
Yeah, I've had him on my show before, but he's another one who doesn't understand it when you actually present him with facts and say, actually, what you're saying is not true. He doesn't go for it. You know.
No.
But we'll have more of it, no doubt, will we not, Paul, this week, because heatwave conditions are making a return, it says in the Times. The UK is to face its fourth heatwave of the summer this week, with hot and dry conditions creating a risk of exceptionally severe wildfires.
I mean, it does. It creates a condition if you leave the load there.
Huh? This is just called summer.
If you have an empty petrol can, you can't do much damage when you set fire to it. If it's full of petrol and you put a match on it, it will. Yeah? And that's the difference. And by the way, if you're going to go about droughts, which is my specialist subject, I had to manage. The worst one was 1758 to 63, or somewhere around there. That was the worst one. That was 18 months. In the whole of British history, that was the longest. And even the River Shannon you could walk across in Ireland. Yeah. So that's how bad the past was. They were much worse in the past. And I've got a scrolling list on my YouTube channel of all the worst ones by date. 1976, which was a bad one, nothing succeeded it since. That one was about the 8th.
Yeah, I got sunburned that year. I remember lying on my parents' roof. It was very uncomfortable watching the premiere of Tommy, the movie. In
I remember that. Yeah.
Anyway, there we are. Listen, great to see you, Paul Burgess. There, fantastic operator, expert in climate change, and a man that should be believed. And there's his Substack there, Paul Burgess 3 Substack.com. That's where you find it. Thank you very much indeed. What a great man. It's nice to hear somebody sensible, isn't it?
Oh, my God.
Talking about this stuff.
As the old saying goes, Paul's probably forgotten more than Jim Dale will ever learn.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
No question at all.
Yeah.
Just about tying his own shoelaces, apart from anything else. I mean, poor old Jim Dale. He's not up. I mean, it's kind of embarrassing. How do you like the new sign, by the way? I just want you to have a look at that. If I go like that, we've got that one there. Oh, there we go. I've moved that one there. And then we've got the other one over there, which is number 10. No, over there. Number 10 North. And then, of course, Will's got, in his hot little hand there, he's got North, even though technically speaking,
he's West. Exactly.
Do you know that slang, by the way, West?
Oh, God, for what?
For something that's not very good, I think.
Really?
Yeah, I think so.
Is it?
Yeah.
I've never heard that.
Someone was telling me this the other day. When you say that's West, I think it means
really?
That it's something that's not...
We've got to hear that in the chat. I've been watching the chat.
Yeah, maybe
everyone loves Paul.
It might be a northern thing.
Can't blame him. He is brilliant. We need more Paul.
We do need more Paul. We've got some Colin Sutton coming up though, which is also good.
Love a bit of Colin.
Colin Sutton, a very sensible young man. I think he may be here. Colin, very good morning to you.
Morning. How are you doing?
I'm very well indeed. Congratulations are in order. I think we spoke to you since you won already, but did we?
I think once, yeah.
We did very briefly get you on, but how's it going? You've won the right to be the Reform Police and Crime Commissioner in Norfolk. So what have you been up to?
Oh, I've been getting to know the people there, having a look at it, seeing where the money's going, seeing what they're doing, and most of it's okay actually. Most of it's very good. They're a well-performing force, and had a meeting with the Chief Constable, got on very well with him. I think we can work together very well. That's going well. And then I made the foolish mistake of coming up with an idea about the prison releases, and ever since then my phone's exploded.
Yeah, well, I mean, don't worry, because there's plenty of other things we can talk. We'll talk about that in a second. But there's a couple of stories this morning that you may have seen. Front page of the Daily Express: police are wasting £631 million on diversity manoeuvrings, and that's all over the country. And then on the front page of the Telegraph, the Staffordshire police apparently have decided that they want to break the law and ignore the advice coming from. Well, it's not just advice; it's the law coming from the Supreme Court, which says that female prisoners should only be in prison with other female prisoners in a police cell. They're saying, oh no, we think if somebody identifies as a female, then he/she can also go in there.
Yeah. Well, that's just mind-blowing. That you've got a clear statement of the law from the Supreme Court, and where are we when a police force decides that they don't have to obey that? I think that's just crazy. It's disrespectful, and it's wrong. It's absolutely wrong. And the story about the DEI training and so forth. Yeah, I mean, this is something I've been talking about for more than a year now, ever since I started doing the job reform.
Yeah.
And we've rehearsed this before, Mike. This is rubbish. This is something that wastes time. It makes no appreciable addition, betterment to policing. In fact, quite the reverse. And we've seen that in the tragic cases of all the rape gangs and Henry Novak and Nottingham and Southport, and there was, in my view, no place for it. Interestingly, when I was talking about this to the Norfolk Chief Constable last week, he said, if I've got my cops sitting in front of terminals learning, I want them learning how to lock people up and how to solve crimes.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting view, isn't it?
I mean, you would think that would be natural, wouldn't you? What's your first job as a police officer? You know, oh, I know, I'm going to leak some stories to the newspapers. That's what I'm going to do. Or I'm going to decide that the Supreme Court law doesn't apply to us. We'll just do our own thing. It just seems completely and utterly off the scale mad. I get a couple of people who are in Staffordshire saying, what the hell is going on? I mean, this is what the story says. Basically, a police force is placing biological men in women's cells despite a Supreme Court ruling against the practice. Staffordshire police say that its custody policy means that detainees may be placed in accommodation consistent with their gender identity. I mean, it's just insane, isn't it?
Oh, it just flies directly in the face of what the court said. You know, it's just.
But doesn't that make? I mean, if you were, and I know you're not, but if you were the Staffordshire Police Commissioner and Police and Crime Commissioner, I mean, they're technically breaking the law, aren't they?
Yeah, I think so. And I mean, it's not a criminal offence in that sense, but it's unlawful. And you know, the same way we had conversations last week about Pride events, didn't we? And people were saying that they wanted police officers taking part in it. And again, there's a court decision that says that it's unlawful for police to do that. That on-duty police in uniform shouldn't take part in events like that and show sort of partiality. And there were one or two forces who tried to fudge that as well, I understand. Right. You know, it's an arrogance, isn't it? It's an arrogance to say we know best. What we think this ideology, this kind of this feeling that we have, trumps the law and is more important than obeying the law of the land that the courts have handed down to us. And for the police service, for any police service, a police force to fly in the face of it, I think, you know, yeah, if that were my force, I would be very, very disappointed and trying to do something about it.
Absolutely right. Here's one for you, Will, from Leah, who's on the YouTube chat. She said, "What's not to like about Mike's show? The only thing that could make it better would be wall-to-wall Will." No, of course, that may be a bit tad distracting. Love all
and
you guys.
Colin,
The show's fantastic.
and Colin, we love Colin.
Yeah, Colin's brilliant. Let me ask you this, Colin. It's a bit more at home with reform, if you like. Richard Tice yesterday has come out on very hard against the Metropolitan Police and the BBC. He's basically saying that they have, in some way, dropped a massive clanger by leaking information and by sharing information with the media about things that he says are going to turn out to be absolute and utter nonsense. I know that, you know, Richard's not speaking about it this morning, but he certainly said to other news organisations, you know, be very careful about, you know, retweeting all this stuff. What's going on with the Metropolitan Police and this kind of, you know, ganging up on reform thing that seems to be going on?
Yeah, I think it's not just the Metropolitan Police; it's the establishment, full stop, isn't it? It's some of the press, some of the media. You know, police are investigating something. That is a fact. That can be true, even if the subject of the investigation is not true and there's nothing behind it. But they don't give us a running commentary on everything they're investigating, do they? Why pick this particular investigation to leak to the press rather than, you know, the hundreds of other investigations which were commenced last week by the Metropolitan Police? It seems that there are some willful and some sort of devious moves afoot, and I think we expected this. I think we expected this in reform that you know, seeing what happened across the Atlantic when an interrupter, when somebody from outside the establishment came forward and looked within a grasp of power, the might of the establishment, including the courts and the law and the investigation, law enforcement, were turned upon him. And I think we kind of expected that, although some of us thought that actually we're the UK, we're better than that, but it seems that we're not.
It's kind of relentless, isn't it? I mean, here's what Richard tweeted out yesterday. Both the BBC and Metropolitan Police appear to have acted in clear breach of legal obligations, contrary to well-established case law in the BBC's reporting about me over the weekend. I've written to both the Commissioner of the Metropolitan Police and the BBC's Director General, setting out these serious breaches. My lawyers have also been instructed. So, I mean, it's some pretty serious stuff, this. But I think there's a sort of relentlessness to it, isn't there?
Yeah, wasn't it the BBC that got into great trouble with South Yorkshire Police and Cliff Richard some time ago when there was a leak of it wasn't it?
Because they leaked the fact that they were going to go and raid his house, didn't they? And suddenly there was a helicopter flying around his house from the BBC, filming it all.
And Cliff Richard sued him, didn't he? He
Successfully,
sued them,
I think, yeah. Cliff Richard, I think, won quite a lot of compensation at the BBC.
Of taxpayer money.
Yeah.
Yeah, indeed. Of course, it's always taxpayer money, isn't it? You know, that's why we've got the QR code, pay your licence so we can pay compensation.
Well, I mean, one of the things that I found really insidious about the BBC's coverage of the World Cup was that every sort of couple of minutes they'd be giving you an advert for, you know, why you should buy a TV licence, you know, in order to watch all of the stuff that you don't really care about watching. You know, it's quite an extraordinary state of affairs. But I mean, you know, there's obviously still talk, and I know that this is not so much on the crime front as on the political front. There's an awful lot of talk that Andy Burnham's softening everyone up for an early election, even though he's decided that he's going to announce that he's not doing that. As it's been pointed out to me, both Theresa May and Boris Johnson both said that they weren't going to have an early election and then had one anyway.
Yeah. And Gordon Brown said he was going to have one and then didn't, I saw recall.
Right.
But yeah.
Well, you know what I find really amusing, and this is, I meant to mention this earlier, is that Andy Burnham's people have been coming out and saying, we're thinking of making voting compulsory, but we don't want you to have an election. And you go, sorry, how are those two things able to be put next to each other, you know?
Yeah, I think if he finds he's got a lead in the polls and he thinks that he could win the election, even albeit with a reduced majority. I mean, I'm sure that they're not going to get a majority. Then he might go for it. I think we in Reform, our view is that we're ready for it. We'll go for it whenever it comes. We actually want an election.
Yeah.
But you know, it's interesting, isn't it, that the more interesting story about Andy Burnham, I think, this week is this business about the lease of Heron House in Manchester for number 10 North, because that was all in train even before he won at Makerfield, let alone before he actually was appointed leader of the Labour Party. And no, I said appointed. You know, so what was going on there? Where were these decisions being made? It's a very interesting. I mean, there may be an entirely innocent explanation for it. I don't know, but it does seem, again, a bit sort of arrogant, really, that we're going to.
Well, exactly, and it's the whole idea that we're not supposed to know about it. You know, they're just going to do things and just go, well, this is what we're doing. I'm talking to Will Geddes about it earlier. You know, the fact the Metropolitan Police had to go up and pick him up from Manchester Airport when he flew in on his jet from Glasgow shows you that now there's going to be a sort of dual purpose to the protection squad, who are going to have to spend a lot of time in Manchester as well as in London.
There's an interesting, for me anyway, a rather geeky policey point about this, is that the Met Police have their normal firearms officers in the armed response vehicles that deal with armed crime across London, and the counter-terrorism and specialist firearms officers. But they also have what they call AFOs, authorised firearms officers, and they're the ones that do the protection at Parliament and for the royal family in the palaces. And they're a sort of a hybrid, different level of training. The Met are the only force, I think, that have those. Because they have those roles in Parliament. And so if you've got armed police from Greater Manchester looking after number 10 North, they are at the moment armed response officers from armed response vehicles. Now, we all know what the... sorry, my phone went. We all know,
babes on the phone.
we all know what what Manchester's been like in terms of gun crime over the years. To have this draw of trained officers from their armed response vehicles to look after the Prime Minister unnecessarily, not a good look in my view.
No, I think you're absolutely right. Colin, great to see you. Thank you very much indeed. We wish you well, and for more power to your elbow up there in Norfolk. Colin Sutton, the Police and Crime Commissioner for Norfolk, very sensible man.
Very.
I mean, you know, talking about the number 10 North nonsense. You know, in terms of the Manchester police, what would their role then be? Because presumably they would have to be seconded in some way.
They would
to patrol and police the building when Andy Burnham's not in it. Because there's other people in it. I don't know whether Angela Rayner's working from there or whether Lou Haig is working from there. Obviously,
or if it's just him.
She has a propensity to get mugged for her phone, so you need to have a lot of police out there to make sure nobody nicks her phone when she's going in and out of the building, because that can happen
easily.
And so they will have to have now got some kind of presumably number 10 North budget.
Well, they would. They
would.
would. So, I mean, Colin's absolutely right. You've got the ARVs, which are those red police vehicles that you see driving around. You've got the AFOs, and then you've got the RASP guys and the Royalty and Specialist Protection guys, who are the ones who are actually with the Prime Minister, but also with sort of leading key members of the Cabinet, Royal Family and such like. Now, the RASP guys would be travelling anyway, but I know that they're pretty punished on their schedules, and he will have his dedicated RASP team. They're punished on their schedules that they afford for obviously travel overseas and that sort of thing, but moving around in the UK, coming out of Westminster, which is pretty well fortified, to be honest, with so many different police contingents, to now replicate that up into Manchester, that's going to put a big draw on the GMP, who are very capable and they've got lots of capability. But you're absolutely right, Mike.
But also they've been in special measures for a long time. But it's bound. I mean,
it's going to cost us more.
Effectively, it's an on cost for all sorts of reasons.
Big time. Yeah, it's all duplicated. It's all duplicated. So you're basically taking the cost or the budget that they would have had for number 10, which is already in place because it's just constant, regardless of whoever's sitting behind the desk there. But now having to do almost exactly the same up in Greater Manchester. Yeah. And it all really comes down to how much time is Burnham going to be spending up in Manchester? How much time is he going to be spending in London?
This is the thing, it's not clear. You know, and what about when he goes to various events in other parts of Europe or other parts? Does he take a contingent from number 10
He
North?
would anyway, yeah. Or is it the North? Well, it would probably be his key core RASP guys. But I mean, that's I think, that's kind of understandable and standard as they
No, but
do.
I'm not talking just about security. I'm talking about, will he have a kind of...
a duplicate admin team?
A duplicate, so that they don't feel left out. You know, when they all go,
on a jolly jaunt.
When we go to the G7, shouldn't we have number 10 North over here and number 10 South over there?
You know what I mean? Actually, I hadn't thought of that.
So there's all of that kind of cobblers as well.
Yeah.
This from Susie on the Substack. If you haven't joined our Substack yet, you can. Again, it's free, or you can subscribe for free, or you can subscribe and pay money. We're getting the likes up, by the way, on YouTube.
Brilliant.
7.6 thousand now.
Awesome.
We're trying to get it to 15. We got 15,000 plus watching, which is
That's
huge.
amazing.
So thank you to all of you.
Yeah.
Mike and Emma are correct, Susie says. How was all this number 10 North set up so quickly? Winning Makerfield, it all sounds corrupt to me. How did they know they would win? It needs seriously looking into. And then Kim says, Emma Wolf hit the nail on the head. The new Prime Minister is the Wolfie Smith of politics.
Power to the people.
Power
I remember
to the
that.
people. Wolfie Smith, remember that. Pat says, Mike, just joined and glad of it. Super show just up my Strasse. Earlier, perhaps you were referring to West, as in if something has gone west, it is ended in ignominy. So if you've gone west,
I couldn't even spell that.
Yeah, I'm afraid if you've gone west London, ignominious beginning.
I'll take that as a compliment.
Yeah. So listen, it's all great. We've got lots more to do. Will Geddes is here. Continue to stay if
I'll
you
stick
wish.
around. Free coffee.
Here's
Who
the story.
wouldn't?
Yeah, I'll have another coffee.
I brought pastries.
Supermarket looks to UK salad growers to fill shelves. Sainsbury's is to increase supplies of British tomatoes, cucumbers and peppers amid fears of drought affecting crops imported from abroad. Well, if
how's
there's
that
drought why are we not growing our own vegetables? I'll tell you why. Because we can't afford the electricity.
Because the farmers can't afford to actually grow them. That's the problem because of what this government's doing.
I remember there being a story, I think it was a couple of years ago, electricity prices are so high in this country, higher than any other country in the world.
I saw a graph of everywhere across Europe on that.
You cannot actually now, a lot of the tomato growers, for example, because they need to grow tomatoes all year round, sometimes they have them under lights.
Yes.
But they couldn't put them under lights because it's too expensive. So during certain periods...
Only the drug dealers can afford them
The
now.
drug dealers can afford
That's it, for the marijuana farms.
Well, they don't bother paying, presumably. But yes, so the tomato growers go, we can't grow tomatoes all year round. We can only grow them in the summer months when we don't need the lights because we can't...
Jeez.
So we now have to import the tomatoes in the wintertime because of the expensive energy that we've got. So Ed Miliband wants to save the world and stop the planet from boiling. But unfortunately, his measures for doing so are killing off all the farms in this country. So we have to import food, which has to come on planes, which has to then damage the climate.
And carbon footprint.
I mean, it's not difficult, this stuff. It really is not difficult. I don't understand why.
This is why we need people like Paul to be much more prominent and be out there actually just debunking all this nonsense that people like Miliband's just prattling on about.
I know.
And that man is a prattler.
He really is a prattler. I wish there was another word for it that we could
There
use.
is, but we can't
There are
say
other
it.
words for it, yeah. Coming up, Mark Littlewood's going to join us. We'll ask him about the state of play with the economy. And also Emma Webber is going to be here. Barnaby Webber's mother, you might remember from that horrible Nottingham triple killing.
Horrendous.
Because we haven't had a chance to speak to Emma for a while, but since we last spoke, Nottinghamshire NHS Trust is now being investigated for the possibility of corporate manslaughter. because, of course, that horrible Valdo Calacane character should never have been out on the street.
No, he shouldn't have been.
And they let him out because it was a kind of, fear of racism thing once again.
Oh, for God's sake.
But before we do that, let's talk to Dr. Einat Wilf, who's here with us, because there's some updates in the Middle East we need to talk about. And Dr. Einat is just the woman to tell us what's going on. Very good morning to you, Einat. I think you might have muted yourself. I can't quite hear you. Can you try? Can you see if you can unmute it, perhaps, just to see? Because I can see your lips moving. Oh, there you go.
Can you hear me now?
Now I can hear you perfectly. Yeah, there you go. Perfect. Thank you.
Sorry.
Not at all. It's easily done. These things happen. I was listening to an interview this morning, actually, about Benjamin Netanyahu and what's happening at the moment with the Iranian situation and how Benjamin Netanyahu is being viewed in a way in Israel. Because we've got, funnily enough, this morning I've also read a story from the USA that the American military is running a bit low currently on missiles. Which might explain why Donald Trump has sort of eased up a little bit in the last few days on firing missiles into Iran. But a lot of people saying here, and you correct me if I'm wrong, that there's at the moment it's all a bit of a stalemate. Benjamin Netanyahu doesn't appear to have much of a policy to win the war. Maybe he's not being allowed to win the war. What are you seeing from where you are?
Well, we're definitely seeing first of all, I have to say up front, none of us know how much of any of this is a kind of psyop, because we've already been through this several times before where we were told that there is tension between Israel and the United States, and the next day they embarked on a joint operation. So at this point, I will say we can't know how much of it is a psyop. But some things we can know for certain. We know that fundamentally, there's no real room for agreement between the current Iranian regime, the Revolutionary Guards, and the United States. Because we've actually already seen that the United States and President Trump pretty much gave his vice president the right to pretty much give the kitchen sink away to the Iranians. He gave them everything. Except one thing, he demanded that an internationally recognized waterway that is naturally created. It's not a Suez or a Panama Canal. It's not something that the Iranians created. It's naturally occurring. It's geography. They cannot take tolls. They cannot control it. That was the only thing. Now, the thing is this, ultimately, everyone knows, people skirt around it, that the only outcome that really ends the confrontation and ends it for good is the fall of this regime.
Yes.
Because that's the only thing that really brings it to an end. We know that a large share of the Iranians are sick and tired of being governed by this Islamic revolution. They're some of the most secular, pro-American people, and they really want to be done with it. And the truth is, if the regime is afraid of anyone, they are much more afraid of their own people than they are of anyone else. And because they are afraid of their own people, they need money. And their economy is in shambles. It was before the wars. It's definitely now. We see it in the kind of the runaway inflation. And they need money to pacify their people. And their only access to money is essentially piracy. It's to control the straits. So when people say this is a conflict over the straits, it's not really over the straits. It's, again, over the survival of this regime. And this is why it's the one thing it cannot give away.
And we still don't really know who's running the place, do we? I mean, that's part of the problem, is that nobody's sure if the son of the Ayatollah is even alive, whether there's a body double, several other body doubles. I mean, it's all a bit mysterious. I mean, those who are critical of Trump would say, he doesn't seem to have a clue how to get rid of the regime, because as much as you've described it, it's not in a good place. It's still there.
Certainly. First of all, regardless of whether the Ayatollah is alive or not, we know who's running the country. We know that it's the Revolutionary Guards. If anything, the only thing that happened is that now they're much more at the front of it rather than at the back of it. And as their name suggests, they have one goal and one goal only, and that is to guard the revolution. And it is Kissinger who said a long time ago that Iran essentially has to decide, is it a country or is it a revolution? And it still remains governed by the idea that it's a revolution. This is why it insists on Yemen, on Lebanon. It insists on its continued ability to export its terrible ideas to the world. And what the United States is essentially demanding is that they be a country that is not in the business of exporting a revolution and some terrible ideals. So this again, why we think it's about the Straits, but it's not. The thing is this: the regime, everyone understands that it must fall. You're right. There's no direct path to kind of saying, okay, we do this, we do that, and it will fall. But it is clear that one thing is obvious: do not give it more fuel and oxygen. Do not give it more money. Do not give it more support. And ultimately, it will fall because a large share of its people, we do not know how many exactly, but enough for this regime to engage in constant murdering and killing and execution of its own people, which again shows you that these are the people they're afraid of. They're afraid of their own people, and they should not be given any oxygen or fuel to continue operating against their own people. And then they will ultimately fall.
Yes. And what about the intrusion, I suppose, is, for want of a better word, of Russia, of China, of those other countries where they're buying Iranian oil, supposedly in a way which is not welcomed by the West, but is somehow still going on?
Certainly, this is, as many have pointed to, it's part of a bigger battle over kind of 21st century dominance, AI dominance, and part of AI dominance is energy, and the Persian Arab Gulf oil is incredibly important for that race. We are indeed in a kind of a new race, this time not about space, more about AI. Energy is a massive part of it. And yes, again, a big part of the battle is, will Iran and its oil and its resources belong more to China or be more in the Western camp as this kind of AI race continues to intensify? So if people are looking for the bigger picture, that is, of course, part of the bigger picture.
So, I mean, I know it's a difficult business to predict, but if you were to predict what happens in the next couple of weeks, I mean, the oil price has been going up, creeping up a little bit. It's kind of come back down into the 90s for a barrel today, I think this morning. So what's your prediction for the next month, maybe?
Well, what I can say is the next month, August, September, it's pretty much the kind of the period that the American president has to press this issue, right? The World Cup is over, the 250-year kind of celebrations are over, the midterms are ahead. So he has this period of August, September to pursue this situation. The one thing we do know about this president, unlike previous ones, is that when he says all options are on the table, he actually means it, and he means the entire range, from diplomacy to war. He is actually a president that is willing to pursue all options in the service of finally bringing Iran to kind of the Western side and to dislodge it from the Chinese part. And in that, I think he sees it as something that is crucial to American interests. We didn't actually talk about Israel, but I will say this. I think Israel, it has been to the detriment of the United States' ability to achieve its goal, the fact that it put Israel on a leash. I think actually it would be beneficial if the United States said, you know what? We're not doing anything, but the one thing we're not going to do is put Israel on a leash. We're going to allow Israel to pursue its interests. We've already seen how dominant the Israeli Air Force is. It's one of the reasons that Iranians are being very careful not to bring Israel into this war. It's the reason that the Iranians with Qatar have launched a very successful influence campaign based on kind of old anti-Semitic libels that Israel dragged America to war using kind of these old ideas about Jews being puppeteers. And you see that as a result, Israel has been put on a leash. The mighty Israeli Air Force is not operating. And I think a useful American position will be, we're actually not doing anything, but the one thing we are doing is allowing Israel to operate.
Yes, I think a lot of people I've spoken to in Israel would welcome that as well. They would like to allow the IDF to go and do what they do best, which is to take them all out. I think we'd all like to see that, actually. That would be great. Dr. Einat Wilf, thank you so much for talking to us. Former Knesset member, thank you. Good luck to you there in Israel. We'll speak again soon. Dr. Einat Wilf there. Will Geddes is still here with us. It's dragging on a bit, this, isn't it?
It is dragging on. I mean, there are some key issues here Dr. Wilf sort of raised, which I would agree with, but I think alternately, fundamentally, it comes down to the uranium enrichment that Iran wants to have. I think one of the biggest challenges that Trump, he bit off more than he could chew, and he provided this shield for Israel in terms of their operations against Hezbollah in Lebanon, which they're continuing to do so. There is no actions other than defensive against Iran in terms of their deluge, but one thing that has happened is the issue of the purchasing of oil by Russia and China is the one thing that's keeping the IRGC afloat. But the big challenge is that the Straits of Hormuz is just one issue in terms of a waterway that's being restricted. The Red Sea is now also being really pushed by the Houthis, and the Houthis have a supply of weaponry and drones coming from Iran. And I think one of the first things that Trump really needs to address is cutting off that supply chain to the Yemen and to stopping the Houthis being able to control the Red Sea. Because at the moment, Iran's got the upper hand. Really does. Israel is kind of being left to do its own thing against Hezbollah. But Hezbollah, I mean, I know enough Lebanese people. They're not massive fans of Hezbollah themselves. They'd like them out. But the problem is Hezbollah is probably larger than the Lebanese National Army anyway.
Well, that's the problem, isn't it? But it's also got a political force too, and it's still running the country from Beirut anyway, right?
Yeah, to a certain extent, absolutely. I mean, it's still got a lot of leverage and control over the government. But I think the best thing that can be done, putting tariffs on Iran and its selling of oil, it's a kind of a moot point because there's enough going to Russia, there's enough going to China. But I think the key issue that Dr. Wilf made, which I would agree with, is how much of that overlapping control is going to start sort of blistering into Iran from China and from Russia, which then overcomplicates matters.
Yeah, absolutely right.
Yeah.
It's going to be going on for a while, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm being asked to do the poll. Let's do the poll because we are almost at, we're not just at, we're in the school holidays now. What's your favourite thing to do on holiday? Lie on a beach, 28%. Tour the local ruins, 26%. Complain that Mike Graham's show starts late, 34%, still winning. Get to the airport early, 12%. Maybe we should try and start the show early one day this week. I mean, it could be done. I mean, it can be done. Monday's always difficult though because we're literally, coming out of the weekend, and it's always a bit more difficult to get yourself back into the swing of it. Hev says this: Mr. Milk Tray is a very knowledgeable man. Makes so much sense. Explains it all clearly. Very good.
Thank you.
Very true. That's why we have him here. This is the place to get all the greatest guests.
Not just my pretty face.
You're not just a pretty face. He's got plenty of stories to tell.
I haven't got one of those.
And we hopefully at some point or other, coming up at some point soon, we'll have a show which will be showcasing all the great things that you know about. Lord Petrolhead, so many great guests on the show this morning. However, that's just normal. Well, it is normal, and I'm looking forward to speaking to Mark Littlewood coming up soon. Seaside Babe says, saying hi to all the lovely people and Team MGS, Mike Graham Show. Thank you very much indeed.
Love Team MGS.
I'm going to do a meltdown coming up after the news because I want to do this, what I did last week, just like old Andy Burnham's done his 5 weeks, We were making love by Wednesday. I'm going to get that in there.
The single should come out
The
soon.
Shepherd should be £8.50 north in this climate. Yeah, very true. Well, do you know, funnily enough, there's a piece in the paper saying that the north-south divide is actually worse.
Is it?
And that life expectancy in the north of England is a lot worse than it is in the south.
Oh, is it?
By a factor of about 8 or 7 or 8 years.
Yeah.
If you live in Blackpool, for example, you will live about 8 years shorter than if you live down here in the southeast. Or
have you been
maybe-
to Blackpool?
I have been, not for a while. I mean,
don't want to be rude about Blackpool.
You wouldn't want to be living there for too long, I suppose. I mean, that's part of the thing, isn't it? But how about this? This is the other announcement I've got to make for you today, and it's about Mike Fairclough, who says he's very proud, and I'm going to give him plenty of plugs because he's publishing my book. I've got a book coming out I want you to know about. He says, I'm very proud to have founded Free Speech Press, which is a new publishing house. Our first publication will be a new edition of George Orwell's 1984, featuring a brand new and beautifully written prologue by Neil Oliver. Okay, Mike Graham has also announced that he is writing his own book for Free Speech Press, which we are delighted to be publishing. Free Speech Press is an imprint of Fisher King Publishing, and Rick Armstrong, who owns it, has turned my vision of running a publishing house into a reality. And he's going to be joining us this week. By the way, Mike Fairclough will be to talk to us about the new setup of his company, of his new company, new publishing house, and also my book as well. And we spoke last week to Sonia Elijah about her new extraordinary book, which is all about the COVID years and all of the lies that were told and all of that. So we'll be getting to all of that as well.
You need to do an audio version as well of the book,
actually,
Mike.
very good idea. Yeah, I haven't discussed that yet.
You should, mate. I
an
think you
audio
should. Because,
version
you
of the
know,
book.
when I'm lying by the pool, you know, on my holidays.
Not visiting the old ruins.
I want your dulcet tones in my ears.
All right. Okay, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
It's a great idea, actually.
I think so, mate.
Now,
and you should narrate it, obviously.
I think I should do it.
I think
I
you should.
wouldn't get. I mean, some people get other people to do their own
No,
book.
no.
I mean,
you need to do it.
I need to do it. Yeah, no
Yeah.
question.
Yeah.
We've got 14,000 people watching the show. Actually, nearly 15,000. And we've got 8.4 thousand likes, which I think is the most likes we've ever had.
That's
but
really
let's
good.
keep pushing that like button because, like I said, and hit the bell as well so that you make sure that you never miss a show. Will, this woman's stud muffin and the man's action man. I thought you were going to say the thinking woman's
I'm getting a lot
crumpet.
of love today.
You are, aren't you?
Yeah.
You know what it
very
is. You
good.
put a suit on and people
I know.
take you more seriously.
I'm going to wear a suit more.
Let this be
Nobody
a lesson.
normally takes me seriously. It must be the suit.
Let this be a lesson to Andy Burnham. North, number 10,
Up
Tip
to
North.
North.
Wear a bleeding suit, mate. People might actually listen to what you've got to say. So coming up, Mark Littlewood's going to be here. We're going to be doing a bit of a meltdown, and let's get some news first with Edward Hughes.
Good morning. I'm Edward Hughes with your Monday News. Britain's fourth heat wave of the summer is already warming up, with emergency services braced for more wildfires while parts of Wales sit in official drought. July is on course to be the driest in nearly 2 centuries. Perfect timing for a nation that still can't decide whether climate change is real or just a conspiracy against hosepipes. Meanwhile, Gatwick Airport spent Sunday without running water or working toilets after a power cut at a treatment works, leaving passengers queuing for the loos and bars shut. Water's mostly back now, so at least Monday's flights can resume with the usual British dignity. And in politics, new PM Andy Burnham is busy proving he's the knob of the North, planning to meet Zelensky and promising to publicly disagree with Trump if needed, because nothing says stable government like a 7th Prime Minister in a decade still fighting the last war. Remember to like and subscribe. Laters, Tigers.
Thank you very much indeed. As you can see, we've got some signs this morning because in order to make sure we're spending as much money as we possibly can, we need 2 offices now. So one is the Mike Graham Show South, which you can see there. Over there to my immediate left is Will Geddes with North.
Yeah.
Number 10 North becomes
Mike Graham Show West.
North, even though he's actually in the West. So we might have to think about that. Did you say you want me to talk to Mark Littlewood before I do the meltdown?
Yeah, let's do that.
Let's do it. Mark Littlewood is here. Mark, very good morning to you.
Happy Monday, Mike. Good to be with you.
Good to see you. I'm coming to you from the newly invented Mike Graham Show South. If you wish to talk to my colleague Will Geddes on my left, he is in the Mike Graham Show North section of the show. So obviously it's not costing us any extra money. Taxpayers are not going to be funding it. There won't be any need for extra security. We're just going to do it all for the same money. Isn't that great?
Well, amazing. I'm glad you've taken some lessons from our highly efficient masters and overlords, Mike. You know, we obviously need the East and the West, and to spread you out, you know, have Charlotte and Pooch in, 200 miles away in a completely different studio. This is the way things work. This will bring growth in audience in every postcode, Mike, if you keep this up.
I think so, yeah, absolutely right. And also hope in their hearts, which is the most important thing. Because, it's the hope that kills you, as you know, as a Southampton football fan. Hope is the last thing we need, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, hope can be a little hope can be a very, very dangerous thing, Mike. Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely right. Now we've got a lot to talk about. Really, the first week of Andy Burnham's tenure, he seems to think he's achieved something by making announcements about things which have got absolutely no relevance to anything. For example, his first instruction on Monday to get rid of rough sleeping. I haven't seen any change really in the rough sleeping scenario. Certainly haven't seen any change in the Manchester rough sleeping scenario since he promised to change it up there. Second was the energy price cut, which we won't get till October, and which will be less than the price of the increased energy bill. So that won't really matter. Wednesday was the buses, £2. Apparently some people are moaning now that the old bus fare used to be £1. Now it's £2. He's reversed something that Keir Starmer did. So what? Thursday, we got to this is the one I haven't actually looked at, but you can maybe tell me. You know, the reduced business rates for pubs and clubs and hospitality venues. That might be of some use to some people, I don't know. And then Friday, the whole number 10 North crap. I mean, it's a very odd start to a prime ministership, isn't it?
Yeah, it was kind of what I was expecting there, Mike. What we're getting with Andy Burnham, these are all relatively small policy announcements. You know, there's nothing that's, you know, going to cost or save many, many billions. It's a nip and a tuck here and a turn of a dial there. And I think we've actually now got a government who are going to make policy announcements, not because it will change the underlying fundamentals of everything, but as a nudge and a wink to what they care about, you know. So, we need to show that Andy likes going down the pub. Okay, let's announce some extremely modest reduction in the overall cost that pubs face. We like what Andy did with the buses in Manchester. Okay, let's have a bus cap across the country. There's a whole load of fiddly things that are all really about memes and vibes rather than the underlying stuff. But look, take that. You're mentioning that, tax break, a reduction of business rates for pubs and live music venues.
Yes.
I mean, if you try and implement this, it's going to be a complete shambles. For example, every cafe that doesn't yet have an alcohol license will try and get one and rebadge itself as a pub.
Right.
Or failing that, will get one of the baristas just to sit in the corner strumming away on a guitar and call themselves a music venue. You know, how the hell are you going to distinguish between what is a music venue and what isn't, what is a pub and what isn't? So they're announcing things, without working out where the funding's coming from, right? This, wasn't this all going to be funded by abolishing the ID card scheme, which in fact wasn't funded itself?
No.
So they haven't worked out how things are funded. And I think they haven't worked out how to implement any of them. So, a week of memes and vibes. But what else did we expect from Andy?
Well, I suppose so. And I mean, you know, it's still unclear. I mean, he's done this one interview, this rather bizarre interview with Laura Kuenssberg, which apparently, if you'd wanted to watch it between 6 and 7, you could have done this morning. But they did the interview back end of Friday, as far as we know, but didn't publish it at the weekend, didn't do a Laura Kuenssberg show on Sunday. We can watch it apparently tonight. But all we've seen is snippets from it. A lot of people have been very critical of why it's happening this way. I don't know whether the BBC is in cahoots with Downing Street to go, why don't we just put a couple of clips out about Trump, a couple of clips out about defence. I mean, he hasn't made any commitment really on the defence budget, has he? He said that he will continue to stick to our commitment to NATO, but he doesn't say by when and he doesn't say how. And we've got Wes Streeting on the front of the Mail today saying, I will quit if defence plan falls short. Well, there's still hope then.
Yeah, exactly. How fast can this all unravel, do you think? But the interview technique, we are back to kind of Alistair Campbell, Tony Blair style kind of managed media, although without the aggression. So, they're trying to make sure that absolutely everything we see of Andy Burnham is completely controlled by the Labour and government machine. I mean, what we desperately need to happen is for him to do a 1-hour sit-down interview live, not a bit of snippet here, not recorded on Friday. He should have done Laura Kuenssberg Sunday morning.
Right.
And he should be doing 1 or 2 of these every week in the early stages of being Prime Minister. But that doesn't suit the current approach, really. They want everything tightly controlled, as few questions as possible. I think they were starting to feed out to media and journalists, Mike, an announcement at 6 a.m. every morning.
Yes.
To try and, I mean, that's a pretty uncomfortable time to sort of get something and have to change your entire program about it. But if it's a government saying they're going to do something, you have to bend your program around it. Much, much better to give journalists the information the previous evening and, if necessary, embargo the release of that information until 6 o'clock this morning. So I wonder when the mainstream media is going to get a bit sick and tired of this as well, really, because their grid, as it's called in the business, is an announcement every day. But each of them seems to unravel pretty fast at the moment.
Well, they do, because I'll tell you why I think they're doing it. I think they're doing it because they've worked out that most journalists are not very bright, and most of them can't really do very much, on the hoof. And so therefore, if they haven't got a script in front of them, they don't know what to say. That's why I won't come on this show, because we don't need to do that on this show. But, if you give somebody something at 6 o'clock, they break the news, they haven't got a chance to look into it, they haven't got time to, find somebody to actually go up against it and say, actually, that's not going to work, and here's why. By the time they've got around to doing that, it's the middle of the afternoon, and everybody's lost interest. So by the time it gets to the evening news, nobody even cares, and they've all kind of, fallen asleep or gone for a swim. So I think it's as cynical as that, and I know that sounds incredibly cynical, but I think it really is, and I think that's their strategy, and that they know if they keep saying, it's the same kind of thing that Starmer did, if they keep saying they're doing things, people will just assume they're doing things. I was looking at a thing that you retweeted of Kevin Schofield's, where he says, early election anyone, bus fare cap is due to last throughout 2027, VAT cut on electricity bills announced yesterday runs from October until next April. And then he says, lots done, lots more to do, could be a powerful Labour general election message. I mean, has he gone insane? Is he sending that from Broadmoor? Lots done, lots more to do. What's he talking about?
Yeah, that's right. I don't know on this early election thing. I think you're of the feeling, Mike, if I'm right, that it could well happen that he could strike now before the sort of shine comes off and everybody.
Absolutely. I mean, you'll know better than me. The economy's going to get a lot worse, isn't it? All this nonsense of giving things back to the people to make them feel more comfortable. Sorry, I'm not buying that, because he hasn't got the money. And two, the shine will wear off him as soon as he starts actually having to justify himself in a proper arena like the House of Commons, when Kemi Badenoch's asking him a few questions, which he still hasn't basically sat through yet.
Oh, yeah, they've done this very, very slyly on scrutiny. There is no doubt this was highly coordinated to make sure that he came in as Labour leader and therefore Prime Minister right at the end of the parliamentary session, meaning that there's no formal parliamentary scrutiny of him until we get back in, September. Yeah. So he can drip news as he and his team see fit to the mainstream media. He can obviously, as the new Prime Minister, indeed, as even if we were an old Prime Minister, he can pick and choose his interview slots. But he's only really going to be under the cosh when he has to stand up at the dispatch box in the House of Commons. And the big one, Mike, the really big one is, what is he actually going to put together in the budget? Because you can do all of this hopey, changey, happy, clappy stuff as long as by press release. But at some point, you've got to make the numbers vaguely add up. And I think he's going to struggle on that enormously at the first budget. He has said a mixture of things, which I think gives him a circle he is going to find nearly impossible to square. He says he doesn't want a massively dial-up tax. He hasn't given any real indication of dramatic cuts in spending. However, he is unveiling a whole range of things which are, when you add them all together, potentially expensive. I mean, if he's serious about actually ending rough sleeping in Britain, you might say that's a noble aim, but it's not going to come cheap, right? That's going to be billions and billions of pounds. And he says he wants to stay in the fiscal rules. That basically means he doesn't want to borrow anymore. So when you put all of that in a spreadsheet, I'd like to see the number that's spat out at the end of it, because I don't think it will be a happy one. And something on that matrix has got to give. Either tax has got to go up, or he's got to find some spending to cut and eliminate, or he's got to say, you know what, I don't care if we borrow more for the next few years, but he's got to tick one of those boxes. And at the moment, he's pretending that choices don't exist, basically, that you really can do all of this stuff and relieve people's tax burden to help the cost of living. And that won't survive contact with reality when John Healey stands up and actually has to present a budget to the House of Commons. Impossible to square that circle.
Exactly right. And this is all within the kind of the belief system that he seems to have, that he can control events. And the one thing that prime ministers can't do is control events. And you might think it looks good now after a week, but Boris Johnson was done in by COVID. As simple as that. Keir Starmer's reality check was Southport, which he dealt with in a really, really terrible way, and which ended up with him imprisoning people for sending tweets and for trying to mislead the public by giving out misinformation from the police and all the other things. So something could happen that Andy Burnham has to deal with, which can be at the moment unforeseen and could completely ruin him.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Reality comes at you fast. You're typically at the mercy of events rather than the master of them. They can be good or they can be bad, right? So, I mean, let's say, I don't know, this is complete guesswork, but let's say that the war in Iran, the conflict there comes to an end. That's potentially good news for the wider Western economy if it comes to an end in a decent fashion. So you could catch a following wind there. Or things can go against you. More often, governments have basically not priced in that bad stuff happens, right? There is no rainy day fund that the government puts aside saying, well, okay, we sort of expect the economy to be on this trajectory, but who knows? There could be a pandemic, there could be a war, there could be some sort of natural disaster in some part of the world that suddenly knocks us backwards. So I'd much rather see our governments behave to basically have the underlying aim principle that you need to make the United Kingdom resilient, right? You can't actually bat away every single problem that hits you. You just need to be in a position that if a problem does hit you, you are in a pretty strong position to deal with it. Well, we've done the opposite. We spend money like water. We borrow and borrow and borrow. There's no rainy day fund. We are already taxing British business to death. So many companies, particularly in the hospitality sector, are living right on the edge at the moment. One small knock sideways and you could see hundreds and hundreds of businesses go. But I think the Burnham government's basically going to make it up as it goes along. It's going to try and work out, if we make this policy announcement, is the headline that accompanies it going to make us look nice? That, we like pubs, we like people who travel on buses, for etc. And, that in terms of a PR battle might get you somewhere. But in my view, if they can't turn the economy round, and there seems to be absolutely no overarching strategy about how to tackle that, then the shine will come off this new Prime Minister pretty fast. Look, he's a much better communicator than his predecessor, and that might get him, a certain degree of the way in terms of popularity. But you can't make people feel richer unless they really are richer. People aren't dim, right? They don't suddenly say, oh, that nice Andy Burnham's, fluttering his eyelashes at me on the television. I now feel richer. It will come down to whether they really are richer. And I don't think there is a plan to do that. So I am still of the view that by the end of the year, Burnham might well be the most unpopular man in Britain.
Well, very much so. I mean, Ross Kempsell was tweeting out last night about this plan of his to do away with council tax and stamp duty at the same time and come up with some kind of mansion tax. Now, the way I worked it out, I don't know whether you've looked at this at all, but he's talking about possibly not just taxing the price of the house, but also possibly taxing the price of the land that the house is built on. I worked out, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, that if you had a house that was worth £500,000, which I know is a lot of money, but for people living in the southeast, is not a very big house, they'd be looking at paying about £2,500 a year, so about £200+ a month, roughly.
Yeah.
As a sort of, substitute council tax, if you like. Ross Kempsell's view was that will kill off the housing market even more than it's already been killed off.
Yeah, I think that's about right. And you're right, Mike. I think if memory serves, I haven't looked at the numbers recently, but the average house price in London is touching £500,000, maybe £450,000. So if you start to look at it in a kind of national way, then London and the southeast gets absolutely clobbered by this. There's a kernel of an interesting idea in what Burnham's talking about. I think there is a good reason to tax land values rather than property values. It's always seemed weird to me that if you actually improve the value of your house by, I don't know, building an extension, if by some miracle you can get planning permission to do so, or, replacing single glazing with double glazing, or, I don't know, building an outdoor swimming pool or something, if you've got the land to do it in, you'll risk your tax going up. I think the improvements that you do on your house should be encouraged rather than penalised. So if there was a way of working out just what's the value of land that your house is sitting on, and we don't care whether or not it's up to you whether you improve it or let it deteriorate, might be a smart way of doing it. Because we have the ridiculous thing in this mansion tax thing, depending on exactly how you calibrate it. If you start enormously penalising houses which are worth more than 750,000 or more than 1 million or more than 2 million or more than 5 million, at some point you're actually incentivized to do meaningful physical damage to your house to make sure that you're below that threshold, right? You definitely want to be at the 0.999 million rather than the 1 million end of it all. But yeah, the point about changing the council tax system, which at some point we should do, it's all based on valuations from 1990, is they still need to be localised to the specific area. So I was looking at Mayfair house prices, for example. Okay, I know I'm taking the highest property values anywhere in the UK. Something like 30 or 40 times that of Blackpool. Now, nevertheless, that doesn't mean that refuse collection in Mayfair or filling in the potholes in Mayfair requires 30 or 40 times as much money as Blackpool. Therefore, it's reasonable that if you're going to base local government finance on property prices, they're not proportionate across the country, right? You just look in a given area and you say, right, well, the higher value properties are going to give this, the lower value properties are going to do that. But the overall cost of the service is not 30 or 40 times as high in Blackpool, in Mayfair as it is in Blackpool. So it's not really reasonable to charge 30 or 40 times the levy just because you happen to live in an area which is extremely expensive to live in. So again, I don't think it's really a strategy that they've thought out properly yet.
But that's why the council tax system is so useless, isn't it? Because it's based on a measure from 1991 or 92. On the house prices. And Will, I don't know what it's like where you are, but that's why I always thought the poll tax actually was quite a good idea, because you would base the amount of money charged to a house depending on how many people were living in it. So if there's only one guy getting one rubbish bag taken away once a week, or you've got a house full of 10 people, the people with 10 people should be paying more in council tax to get the services, right?
Couldn't agree more.
But of course, the socialists didn't like that, so they decided to throw scaffolding poles at the police until Margaret Thatcher gave up on it. But here's one final question for you: how long before do you think he mentions the I word, immigration? Because we've seen about 900 nearly coming over in the first week of his tenure. They've now got these super dinghies. He has not mentioned the word. Never mind addressed what policy he might have.
Yeah, it's extraordinary. The strategy here seems to be at the moment, Mike, that the Prime Minister's not going to mention it, but please be reassured that Shabana Mahmood is rock hard. That just seems to be the entire strategy at the moment. We're just supposed to believe that the Home Secretary is tough as nails on this. I mean, there's a bit of a problem there. First, you can query about exactly how rock hard Shabana Mahmood is on this. Secondly, even if she is absolutely determined to do stuff, there's every risk it will be scuppered by Labour backbenchers. So it seems to me staggering that not just in the first week of him being Prime Minister, but in the many weeks of the inevitable build-up to it, this question just doesn't appear to have been addressed at all, despite all of the polling evidence that it's the top one or two issue, I still think, for most voters. It's basically immigration and the economy. Top polls when you ask voters, what are you most worried about? And especially as the glorious weather over this unlikely English summer, we're about to get another fantastic heat wave, aren't we? Well, we're going to see the small boat crossings rise and rise and rise, most likely over the coming weeks. And silence on the part of our new Prime Minister, I think, will go down a bit like a cup of cold sick amongst the wider electorate. So he's got to get his ducks in a row and fast on the immigration question. There's not even the skeleton of a strategy yet.
And that is the problem, isn't it? Because if he's going to try and make out that he's the king of communications, which is what he's sort of trying to tell us, and try to make out that he's in very much control of the narrative, the longer it goes on, the longer he doesn't mention it, the bigger of an elephant it becomes in the room.
Yeah, exactly right. And, you were talking about unpredicted events can often knock governments sideways, especially if they respond to them poorly. But this could actually be, I think you could say, a fairly predicted event that they just don't seem to have anticipated. Look, I don't know the exact numbers. It depends on a whole range of factors. But it wouldn't be unreasonable, would it, to assume that there'll be a large number of boat crossings. We still call them small boat crossings, but they're starting to become medium and big boat crossings now, aren't they? I mean, so I think we can drop the small from it. That you could see a lot of that happening over this summer period. And at the moment, the response of the Prime Minister and the government is to shrug their shoulders about that. Well, he's going to have to do a lot better than that. But how he can do better than that and keep the vast majority of lefties in his party on side, anyone's guess, Mike. Probably another circle he ain't going to be able to square, if you want my guess.
Yes. Yeah, it's more like the circle of hell at the moment, isn't it? And it's about to get worse, I'm afraid. Good to see you, Mark Littlewood. Thank you very much indeed. Great shirt,
Thanks,
by the way, as you would expect him to wear. He's absolutely right, isn't he?
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to frighten you before I let you. I know you've got to go.
Yeah.
But I can't let you go without seeing this. This is
Go on.
going to ruin your morning, right?
Brilliant.
Carol Vorderman.
We love a bit of Carol, don't we?
We love a bit of Carol. I mean,
So the RAF, apparently.
There's not much of Carol. There's not much of Carol left. Most of Carol has now been recreated in a lab,
refabbed.
Right? Anyway, here she is talking about how you shouldn't be voting for reform and you should be voting for somebody else. Check it out.
This post is about the Greater Manchester Mayor's election this Thursday, July the 30th. And it's a very different system that they're using for the election. It isn't first past the post, and that's what this is about, okay? So you'll have two votes. You'll have the first column and the second column, or they call it the supplementary vote. And this is how it works. The current polling shows that Bev Craig is at 38%, Reformer in second place, way down, and then the Greens are in third place. That's the current polling from YouGov. Now, that isn't enough for Bev Craig to become mayor. This is why the supplementary, the second vote, is so important in this election. They add up all the first votes, and if nobody gets more than 50%, then the top two candidates from the first vote go through to the second vote count. At the moment, the polling is showing that that will be Labour and Reform. So if you have voted Green or Lib Dem or Independent and you do not want a Reform mayor, please use your second vote.
Well, that was fascinating, wasn't it?
It was. Oh, I was gripped.
Yeah,
gripped, Mike.
Gripped. Yeah. I mean, I don't know what the point of her is, really, to be fair. I mean, she's not getting any better as she gets
She's not. No, bless her.
Older.
Someone found the animation button on her edits, didn't she?
Yeah. But I mean, she's obsessed now with trying to stop reform.
She's not a fan, is she?
Last time I saw her, she was with the Green Party dancing around with old Hannah, the fake plumber.
Hannah the plumber.
Yeah, Hannah the fake plumber, as I like to call her. Apparently doing some kind of, green thing.
Hokey-cokey.
She didn't like Keir Starmer, so she went very quiet after he got in, if you remember. So she's now sort of relighting herself as some kind of anti-reform campaigner. And the Manchester mayoral race has come around fast, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
I don't think they have a mayor anymore,
coming
do they?
Coming on Thursday. Well, I presume they don't have a mayor at the moment.
Yeah.
I mean, they're having a mayor, if you don't mind me saying so. But yeah, so that's that. So we'll actually probably do something on that maybe tomorrow, Charlotte, shall we? Get somebody on to talk about
go up to Clacton, Mike, aren't we?
Well, do you know, I was wondering about that because I think we should do it, but I don't know when we can do it is the only problem. Because I thought about maybe doing it the weekend, but I can't do it this weekend because I've got got to go to Manchester.
No,
I've got to pick up my son and bring him home.
No, the night before the election.
Oh, the night before the election?
And then the morning of.
Oh, okay. Oh, we could do that.
And then we can get the candidates in to be interviewed by you.
And that's a Thursday.
That's a great idea.
It's Thursday the 13th.
Yeah, so Wednesday night and Thursday morning.
Okay. No, Thursday night and Friday morning, no?
Thursday night, Friday morning.
Yeah.
And we'll get an audience in. I'm arranging.
Are you doing it?
I'm organising.
He's all over it.
Oh,
like a harbour shark.
That's great fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me?
We might need Will
I'm
to
busy
come
that
as
weekend, I
bodyguard.
think.
But yeah.
I've looked into security already.
So you're on the case?
Yeah, thanks, Pooch. I didn't get a call.
Well, it's one of the many things I was going to talk to you about today, so that's exciting. Very exciting. Right, now, listen, I've got to do a meltdown. We've got some news. We've got Emma Webber coming on as well. What do you
I got kittens to go and rescue from
You've got to go
trees.
rescue some
So
kittens
I've
from
got
the
to.
streets.
Yeah.
What do you want me to do first?
Meltdown.
Meltdown. Here we go. Let's do it. So, as you can see, I am now sitting ensconced in the Mike Graham Show South, du Sud, as we say in France. Or you could go over to the other side of the studio where it is the Mike Graham Show North. What I need to know from you is what have you been doing for the last 5 days? Because Andy Burnham did a little video to tell us what he did.
Here's 5 things I've done
And when
in
he
my
finishes-
first week as Prime Minister. On Monday, I launched a new national drive to end rough sleeping. On Tuesday, I announced a tax cut on energy bills. Wednesday, a £2 cap on bus fares across England. On Thursday, a 20% cut on business rates for thousands of pubs, clubs and music venues. And on Friday, I opened No 10 North, which...
And we were making love by Wednesday, Thursday and Friday and Saturday, chill on Sunday. I mean, does he think he is Craig David? Does he? I mean, I can give you my week if you like, because I've got a tie on, I've got a jacket on, I've got glasses. I haven't quite got the eyebrows, but I'll see if I can do my best. Should I do the northern accent or not?
Yes.
Here's my week in politics. My very first week, they said I couldn't do things. Well, I tell you what, I did things. On Monday, I went to Boysdale to help celebrate a friend's birthday party. Had a few drinks and a cigar. It was very good. On Tuesday, I recorded The Thought Police with Lewis Schaefer, which is our new podcast, which is available on all podcast arenas like YouTube and the Spotify and Apple Podcasts. On Wednesday, I went to the gym and I lifted 57.5 kilograms, dead weight, 10 times. And then I lifted 14 kilograms, shoulder pressing it like that, like that, like that, and like that. They said I couldn't do things, but I'm telling you, I'm doing them. Thursday, I finished off my book, which is going to come out on the Free Press publishing platform with Mike Fairclough. Thank you very much indeed. Not that Fairclough from Coronation Street, that was a different Fairclough. That was Ken Fairclough, wasn't it?
No, Rita Fairclough.
Rita Fairclough, there you go. And then Friday, I went to see my dog Ziggy down in Tit South. The Mike Graham Show, Tit South. So, that's my week. They told me I couldn't do it. They said it couldn't be done. Well, I did it. So there. It was Len Fairclough. Yeah, there you go.
Ken.
I said Ken, yeah, but I knew there was a something
Barlow.
EN. It was Ken Barlow. Yeah, I've mixed up the two. I've never watched the whole episode of Coronation Street. Just haven't done it. Should we get some news with Edward Hughes?
Good morning. I'm Edward Hughes with your Monday news. Britain's 4th heat wave of the summer is already warming up, with emergency services braced for more wildfires while parts of Wales sit in official drought. July is on course to be the driest in nearly 2 centuries. Perfect timing for a nation that still can't decide whether climate change is real or just a conspiracy against hosepipes. Meanwhile, Gatwick Airport spent Sunday without running water or working toilets after a power cut at a treatment works, leaving passengers queuing for the loos and bars shut. Water's mostly back now, so at least Monday's flights can resume with the usual British dignity. And in politics, new PM Andy Burnham is busy proving he's the knob of the North, planning to meet Zelensky and promising to publicly disagree with Trump if needed, because nothing says stable government like a 7th Prime Minister in a decade still fighting the last war. Remember to like and subscribe. Laters, Tigers.
Yeah, he's meeting Volodymyr Zelensky today, right? How ridiculous is that? Is that his new priority? We've already seen that old Wes Streeting has been talking about his relationship with Donald Trump, which is not probably going to be all that good, to be honest. And now we're going to see, I don't know whether he's going to Manchester. We don't know this yet. We don't know whether he's going to Manchester or London, or whether it's number 10 Tit North or number 10 Tit South he's coming to. Can you tell Edward he needs to wear a tie, says Laura Jane. Well, I would say that. You know, I believe, but he's decided to come in apparently in sympathy with the Prime Minister in his T-shirt. Although, to be fair, since Burnham said he's going to wear a suit and tie only when he's in the House of Commons, he's worn nothing but a suit and tie, has he? He was wearing one all Friday. Lynn sent a super chat. Thank you very much indeed for that. What else we got? Here's one from Ron. My favourite thing to do on holiday is to get pissed every day. Yeah, well, that's fine. We didn't put that in the choices, I'm afraid.
That was implied.
But it was implied. Yeah, absolutely right. What else is going on? I just tuned in and I'm laughing within 10 seconds. Thanks, Mike and Co. Happy Monday, says Looby Loo. Mike, you and Pooch know how much effort they've misspelt Pooch as ouch. But Pooch is better. They know how much effort to set up your little studio. So to think Burnham had number 10 North set up so quickly, this has been planned for months. Well, of course it has. I mean, as we say often on this show, does he think our head zips up the back? You know.
I've got a confession.
Go on.
I did the studio for him.
Pooch did the studio from. In that case, I can believe it was done over the course of the first 4 days because he could have actually done that. But nobody else could do that. That is absolutely not going on. I'm not buying it. What's the problem with starting at 6 a.m. in the morning? Your traffic issues surely must be less at that time in London, says Swordfish. Oh, what? So you want me to do a 4-hour show? So I'll just get up at what?
No sleep, Mike.
I'll just get up at 4.
Yeah.
In fact, yeah, I'll just inject myself with some speed or something, shall I, so that I don't have to sleep at all. The issue with not. I'll tell you what the thing about 6 o'clock is that. There's not that much of an audience between 6 and 7 because at the end of the day, most people tune in from 7. You know, when I did my first breakfast show on Talk, it used to start at 6:30 and then they moved it to 6 o'clock. But there actually wasn't an awful lot of audience between 6 and 7. And most of the audience becomes an audience around about 7 o'clock. 7 to about 9, 7 to 8:30, quarter to 9 is the kind of the peak time. And then after about 9:15, it starts to go down a little bit. But we've still got, you know, pretty close on 13,000 people watching, which is still an awful lot more than everybody else put together. So we're very happy about that. And so what we are trying to get you all to do is to like. We've almost got to 10,000 likes, which is the biggest number we've ever had. So keep those coming, please. We've got 9,500 likes. The reason we ask you to do it is simply because it helps our algorithm. And as we learn more and more about YouTube, we learn more and more about how the system works. The more subscribers we have, the better it is because it pushes the show to the front of the queue more, so that if you maybe look at it every single day, that's fine. But for those who don't do that, they'll find it more easily if we have a bigger number of subscribers. We're doing well. I think we've got, nearly 180,000 coming up soon. But we'd like to get it to 200,000. We'd like to get it to 250. We'd like to keep getting it up, as far as we can. So as much as you can possibly do, it doesn't cost you any money. Just subscribe to the YouTube channel, if you would, please, and that would help us enormously. And also hit the bell icon for those of you who had trouble this morning finding the show, because that will alert you every time the show goes live, and then you'll be able to go straight to it, as far as I understand it. Now, what have we not played?
Let's do an early Pooch's Pooch.
Should we do an early Pooch's Pooch?
Oh,
Okay.
I watched this, I haven't seen it.
I don't. Quite funny. Oh, this is great. Have you not seen this one? This is brilliant.
I love this.
This one's fantastic. I'm gonna try this with Ziggy. You know?
Yeah.
Look at him, he goes with the paw.
He's so lovely. Look at him.
How come he's getting one?
Oh, so
He's still getting. Yeah, there you go. Look at that.
Pavlov's dog.
It's brilliant. It's so good. He's not so good at hitting it, it's moving. There we go. Clever. What a great dog.
Weekend for the first time in 2 weeks.
You saw what?
You saw Ziggy, didn't you?
I did, yeah, which was great. He had a bit of a sore paw, so I had to put a sock on him at one point and rub some cream into it. But we had a couple of nice walks, and I made the video yesterday with him in the background, walking around, and which was nice. Robert says, Mike, I tell everybody your show and about your show and how good it is. Thank you very much for that, Robert. I ran into a lovely lady on Saturday, went to Sainsbury's, and there was a lady with her husband coming out, and she was like, oh my goodness, Mike Graham, and I gave her a little kiss and a hug, and she says, been watching me since the very beginning. So thank you. I didn't catch your name, so thank you for that. That's always nice, by the way. If you ever see me, do come up and say hello. Don't feel worried about that. Amazing how 7 different prime ministers have had basically the same policies, says Marcus. Yes, I think so. Let's do a bit of Trevor Phillips, because Sky. I was saying Sky News the way that they were behaving last night was quite ridiculous in the way that they were describing what had actually happened in Berlin, as if it was some kind of anti-gay thing rather than a pro-Muslim, pro-Islamic terrorist attack thing, right? But one of the reasons why Sky has fallen so far, I think, in most people's eyes, and why most people don't watch it, is because the presenters now are so woke. They're so ridiculous. There's one or two decent people there, but hardly any. And one of the greatest interviewers, which was always on a Sunday, the show that was worth watching on Sky, was Trevor Phillips. And Trevor Phillips has now gone away to America to work over there, where he's probably being loaded down with a bucket load of money. But here he was bowing out from Sky yesterday.
Here we are at the end of 3 years of Sunday Morning with Trevor Phillips. We started with interviews with Jeremy Hunt in the cabinet at that time, Bridget Phillipson hoping to get into the cabinet, Andrew Morton, the royal author, and Jonathan Aitken. These were the days of a dying Conservative administration. Chaos reigned. Since that time, we've covered all sorts of things. Some things that I think many of us would prefer not to remember. Of course, we've also dealt with the big issues which still persist. Small boats, immigration, what to do about welfare and the economy. We dealt with some things which came right out of the blue. And we've dealt with some absolutely bonkers moments. You have to watch Maurice Glassman's interview to understand why one of my colleagues called it the wildest thing ever. Until, of course, we interviewed Boris Johnson the week before the end of this series. What have we learnt? Well, we've learnt, I think, that personalities do matter. What they say to us does make a difference. But we've also, I think, understood that things do look the same over a period of time, but they aren't the same. The political landscape that we interrogated 3 years ago had some of the same features. But today, we're confronted with a Prime Minister who's got a very different vibe to Keir Starmer. If Keir Starmer was, because we've all got to learn to talk Manchester now, Keir Starmer was Morrissey's heaven knows we're all miserable now. Andy Burnham's bringing us new order, happy Mondays for the time being. But as Boris Johnson told us, Heraclitus said, you can never dip your toes in the same stream twice. Actually, what Heraclitus meant was, you can walk into the river more than once, but it's never the same river because history has moved on. People have changed, the circumstances have changed. And that's why, though I may be gone from this program, this slot will always have something fresh and new because the world moves on, things change, politics change, and it's always, always going to be exciting.
Well, it is going to be less well done, though, Trevor, since you're leaving Sky, and I think Sky knows that, and I think everybody now who watches this show also knows that. We'll be talking about, I'm sure, the paucity of media examination of Andy Burnham over the course of the next several weeks, because what's very clear is that the reason why the Westminster bubble loves Andy Burnham is because he isn't Keir Starmer, and because he does apparently give them reason to think that he's a much better communicator, because he is. But they're all the same, because they're all sucking up to him in the same way that they sucked up to Keir Starmer. And if you remember when Keir Starmer was in his kind of final couple of weeks as Prime Minister, he suddenly kind of softened up a little bit, didn't he? He suddenly thought, I'll show them all that I'm a human being. Nobody actually bought the idea of that. Nobody bought the idea at all. But of course, some of those in the Westminster bubble, the media, the mainstream media, were still hosing him down with praise and telling us all what a great guy he was, and, you know, hasn't he done well? And that ludicrous spectacle, if you remember, of him walking into the House of Commons for his final Prime Minister's questions and getting a kind of standing ovation, people waving order papers around, as if he had done something good, and as if they hadn't all basically voted to get rid of him. You know, there's so much hypocrisy in politics these days that it's hard to believe. Seaside Babe says, Trevor sounds defeated. Well, I think the thing about what Trevor Phillips is about to do is interesting, because he'll be quite worried about going to America. He's a very accomplished broadcaster, he's a very accomplished politician in some ways. He's worked with politics, he's worked in government, he's worked on the media rounds for quite some time. But he's going into the big belly of the beast. I mean, it's like when Piers Morgan went to work in the US. It's a very different kettle of fish. You know, I've worked there as well, not in television, but I worked there, you know, as you know, back in the 80s and early 90s, working on newspaper stories. It's a very, very different market. It's a very, very different place, and you have to be pretty good at it, which he is, but you have to be also pretty good at all the game playing. You have to be pretty good at all the politicking, and I mean with a small p, not with a big P, so that you can get along with some of those big American TV networks, which are all also failing in the same way, by the way, as the networks, the TV networks are here. And that is certainly true. We're going to be talking over the course of this week about Andy Burnham and what his plans are for fixing the real problems in Britain, because it's not about bus fares, it's not about 90 pence off your electric bill, it's not about pretending you're going to do something which isn't possible to do, like ending rough sleeping. That isn't in any way anything other than a virtue signalling kind of tip to the what do you call it, the think tanks who have all been giving you advice, and the focus groups who have all said this is what people like to hear. He wants to put hope in all our hearts. He wants to tell us that there's going to be growth in every postcode. Well, I think a lot of people would like to see the streets being made safe. I think they'd like to see the hospitals operating properly. We're going to speak to Emma Webber very shortly. She, of course, is the mother of Barnaby Webber, one of the children killed by Valdo Calacane in Nottingham back in June 2023. And now, of course, the development in the story, and we haven't managed to speak to her since this happened, is that the NHS trust that was responsible for the care of Valdo Calacane and effectively letting him out is now at the centre of a criminal investigation, corporate manslaughter investigation, in which it might end up being that certain individuals who ran NHS Nottingham Trust have to face some kind of prosecution. So let's find out how she's doing and how life is for Emma. Emma, very good morning to you. Welcome back.
Morning. Hi, how are you?
Yeah, I'm all right. Good to see you. The story doesn't get any easier for you, I'm sure, but interesting development that now, partly due, I'm sure, to your dogged campaigning, there are now proper questions being asked of the health authority, the NHS Nottingham Trust, as to how they could have ever let Valdo Calacane out.
Yeah, it was. As I was sorry if I looked a bit surprised. I was reading a story about the behaviour of Rudy Cabana and his manipulation of the system and
Yes.
failures of the system, and the similarities are so striking, aren't they?
Mm.
Nothing, Mike, has come without the most painful fight you can possibly imagine, and we're continuing to fight now with regards to everything that's ongoing. But we've known that there was a consideration for corporate manslaughter since December of last year. I have to give credit to Dr. Sanjoy Kumar for sort of really instigating that. I mean, that's the benefit of the fellow victim of my son's dad being a clinician, as is his wife, and also dogged like we are in knowing how much has gone wrong. And we were told back in December by Northants Police that the threshold was very, very high. The bar to meet for a criminal investigation is highly unlikely, but they were prepared to do it. And then we heard about a month ago that even without the inquiry's evidence, that bar had been met, that threshold had been met, and this is unprecedented because it's the NHS at this level. So Northumbria Police are doing that investigation, and the reason it's Northumbria is because they're pretty far away from the East Midlands, and we clearly wouldn't want Nottingham or Leicestershire Police Force anywhere near it. So it's going to be, I don't know how long, I have no experience, thank God, in anything like this, who does, but it could be years. But what you said is the most important thing, is it's proper accountability. I call it the reckoning. It's organisational and individual level. And this NHS Trust, of many agencies that failed, have blood on their hands. They've done their job properly. Barney would definitely still be here now enjoying his summer.
Absolutely right. And I've been looking at your Twitter feed and the pictures from your previous holidays, and it's heartbreaking. And I mean, I don't need to tell you it's heartbreaking, but for those of us who are wondering what it must be like, we still can't really imagine. But you said to me before that one of the reasons why you would want to see people being held responsible is because there is this kind of general lack of responsibility, isn't there? It's kind of passed from one department to another. There's another buck gets passed over here. And in these cases, we always hear about lessons being learned and this shouldn't have happened and that shouldn't have happened, but nobody ever really is held accountable for it.
No, and I think that's why we're in the state we're in. It's if we're focusing on the NHS today, the investigations for their part on failures and catastrophes and negligence like this that have happened, not just in Nottingham, but I mean the culture of the NHS is actually, it does say it's a no blame culture. I can understand the rationale for using that phrase in some regard, because it doesn't promote candor and transparency sometimes if you think you're going to get in trouble for telling the truth, however ironic that is. But there has to be proper accountability. And in our case, in the Mental Health Trust, not one single member of staff at any level has been held accountable or faced anything for anything that they did or didn't do. And I always say top down, because we heard in the inquiry, we had 2 ex-chairmen of the trust, we had 2 ex-chief executives of the trust, we had upwardly promoted directors, now medical directors, chief nurse directors, and not one single one seemed to have even had a passing thought that because they failed to manage their trust properly, it could be in any way their fault or the board's fault, but that they're very happy to take the big salaries and the very big pension pots, and that's fine. If you're going to take that level of responsibility, then you also have to take the equal level of responsibility when things go wrong. And I think it'll be a fundamental shift in our country, genuinely. Not just in the not just in the NHS, but in the police and our other agencies as well. If people that just don't do their jobs properly are properly held to account, and that goes extended beyond doing their normal jobs, but also misconduct and looking at things they shouldn't, sharing things they shouldn't.
Yeah, I mean, it says, I'm looking at the sort of explanation of what can happen, there's no belief that individuals can be punished initially, but if there is a corporate manslaughter finding, then you can look at who might have caused that problem and might have been responsible, and then take it another step further.
Yeah. I mean, and there's lots of options available to us, and there's lots of stuff, as you can imagine. With the inquiry still ongoing, our final submissions are due. The oral submissions are due in, I think it's the 8th and 9th of September. And as we've seen, the actual behaviour and actions and cover-ups, I would almost say go as far as corruption with some agencies and their staff. It does mean that they can be, the disciplinary routes that they will follow go to their professional bodies, but potentially criminal as well. But from a corporate manslaughter trust, everything will be looked at, and then whatever comes up within that there's further recourse for individuals to have consideration. But on the whole, it's the wider trust. Not one single when we had the CQC Section 48 report back, I misread it at first because it said not one single point of failure.
Yeah.
And I read that as, what do you mean there's no failure in his care? What they actually meant was it wasn't one single part, one single person. It was a catalogue of individuals and departments that weren't that single point. So it's very complicated. I know the threshold in the bar for getting them actually prosecuted is high, but we were told we'd never get pretty much everything that we've gotten so far. And I promised Barney, as you know, I'm not going to stop.
No, of course not.
I've done everything I can do.
And of course they would say that, wouldn't they? Because they don't want you to be pressing them for, reasons how it could have happened or reasons how it could have been prevented. They don't want that. That's awkward for them. They'd rather it just went back into a bin over there and, we're terribly sorry. Can we move on now? You kind of feel that's the mentality that they have. You mentioned Axel Rudicabanis. Funnily enough, a lot of people on the YouTube chat this morning were interested in your view of what he's done to get himself moved to Broadmoor. I'm sort of hoping that Broadmoor is not a very nice place to be, but I guess it looks like it's going to be nicer than where he was, right?
It's difficult because with Calicane, there's no way that monster should be in purely a psychiatric secure unit for the rest of his sentence, because there's no penal element, and he's piling up his benefits still until they're hopefully cut. But with Rudy Cabano, I think it goes a bit wider. To me, it's not so much the the conditions he's going to be held in. I think it's how he's manipulating the system and how he is clearly mentally unwell, same as Callaghan has been for a very long time. And what I was reading just before I came on air with you was a really good article that a journalist has put out about, and there's 22 different points about how he lied and manipulated for many years. And so, yeah, Rudy Cabana, I always steered clear of saying and involving myself in conversations too much with regards to other hideous crimes. Rudy Cabana is up there with the likes of Callaghan, the likes of the Soham murderers, those, the West, where they are of no purpose to this world, and they never will be. I wish they weren't here. I could argue for the death penalty.
Yeah.
And I'm not arguing and bring a petition. I've got enough fights on my hand. But do you know what? As somebody who's very peaceable, the thought that I've even said that out loud is shocking to me.
Yeah.
But this individual he's considered, he's calculating, he's psychopathic, he's very unwell. But because you're unwell, it should not give you a pass. The conditions, I believe, in Broadmoor are going to be difficult, challenging. They would be. But you have to remember the key word here is it's hospital, it's not prison. The same as Ashworth. And I've seen lots of discourse over the weekend with regards to, it isn't easy. It's a hard life in there. But there is activity plans. There are as accompanied leave. There is much more of a rehabilitation. And I think why try to rehabilitate the unrehabilitatable, if that's a word.
Sure.
That monster, at least Rudy Cabana, has a 50-odd year sentence.
Right.
We're facing the very real prospects that Callaghan will be out within 10 years.
Yeah. And that is the thing that you're quite right to hold the death penalty decision around in a way, because as long as there's a chance that any of these characters can be released, it just can't happen. It can't happen. I mean, there is no way. I mean, we look at I know it's a slightly different situation, but they're asking questions in Germany now about this guy who was shot dead last night, who was born in Germany to a Lebanese family, but who was in prison for committing terrorist offences, but was then let out again. And they're asking, how is it possible? Why was he let out? And it's clearly a failing of an awful lot of judicial systems in Western Europe.
Yeah, and that's the key point here, Mike, is we haven't got a robust system. We haven't got a criminal justice system, the penal system, the mental health NHS system to actually manage these people safely. And it's obviously there's an element, as hard as it is for me to say that they deserve to be treated. But it's about public safety. It's about the safety of the officers, about the staff that work with them. But our systems aren't robust. And we're working with Julian Hendy. I think you may have spoken to him before from 100 Families Charity. And he supports families like us who are victims of homicide through mental health. So basically, we've had our parents, our loved ones, our kids murdered by people who've got mental and wellness, and a lot of them go on and manage to get the diminished responsibility. And what Julian is doing, and what we're supporting him with the sort of more public voice that we've been able to get in the past few years, is to stop the dumbing down of it's very rare, it's very unusual. The statistics of people that are murdered through mental health homicides, there's hundreds. Over 11% of the homicides in this country every year are through mental health related illness. The proportion that go on to serve any penal element is worryingly low. They go into hospitals, they are out within 10 years, most of them, over 90%, and there's a worryingly high repeat rate of ongoing and then subsequent assaults and murders and crimes. And I think we're just not brave enough to talk about it. It's this mental health hot potato. It's making the stigma worse. When people are dangerous, they're dangerous. And how would you commit a crime like Rudy Cabana or Callaghan if there wasn't something seriously wrong with you? That isn't manslaughter. That diminished responsibility isn't extinguished responsibility, and that's what I think a lot of the criminal justice system seeks to do. And they're the ones that continue to receive all the support, all the benefits, all the rehabilitation, and the rest of us are destroyed and are floundering, trying to work out, first if we ever want to stay alive, and then if we do want to stay alive, what we do with the rest of our lives. And so I hope I don't sound too negative, but what I'm trying to do is raise that conversation so that we're not afraid we're not a passive country anymore. We can discuss it. I've been in to see some of the leaders of the opposition. Went in to see Ed Davey recently. I've got dates to meet with Kemi Badenoch and Nick Timothy and hopefully Chris Phil. And we are awaiting confirmation of a date in September to meet with Andy Burnham and a new relevant cabinet. So we've got to talk to the right people, and we've got to keep the conversation public.
Of course. Emma, it's great to see you as ever. Thank you. We've got some lovely messages coming in support of you as well, which we haven't really got time to do because we've got to finish the show, but we'll read them out tomorrow.
I talk a lot. Sorry, Mike.
No, I like it. No, well, this is what we want. We'll just have to get you on a bit earlier next time. Thank you so much, and we wish you all the best, obviously, and thank you for talking to us. And we'll speak to you soon. Emma Webber there, who is, of course, still mourning the death of her son Barnaby. Some lovely, Julia sent a lovely message in. My thoughts are with you, Emma. My son was stabbed 11 times in May. We nearly lost him. Losing a child, or the thought, is the worst pain I've ever experienced. Keep fighting for justice. I think if that's a good ending to the show, I would be more than happy. These things have to be stopped, and these people have to be locked up for the rest of time, if not put to death. We'll talk about that another time, because Kelvin MacKenzie's here to take over on UK Live online. Go and watch it. I'll be popping in to see him to start the show off. And thank you very much for today. We'll see you all at 7-ish tomorrow. Sorry about that.
Yeah, hi there. Good morning. Kelvin MacKenzie, receiving a rather large handover from Mike Graham, enormously successful breakfast show, and Mike and UK Live becoming one as time progresses. Look, a number of issues. I am fearful that Burnham is doing rather better than I'd anticipated, and I'm also fearful that Reform are still doing well. No matter what the stories are concerning this guy Cotterill or the 5 million quid for Farage, the bottom line on it is that Reform still represent 24% in most polling of the political landscape. Now, 24% is a substantial number. And if they can withstand all the allegations floating around about them, then they are an enormously powerful political voice and not to be discounted. So on the one hand, you have the allegations made against the people who run Reform. That was either Farage, Richard Tice, the number two, and also this rather curious fellow Cotterill, who seems to have his hands on his ability to get hold of huge amounts of money, which I spend most of my time trying to raise money for my various ventures, and I can't get my hands on any of it. So if Mr. Cotterill would want to just contact me, he can DM me and send some of the Reform money towards me. That would be enormously helpful. Anyway, more important than that, my own personal money raising, I was rather taken by Danny Cipriani and his new wife, who are using a version of crowdfunding among the people that they're inviting to their wedding to actually pay for stuff. So some of it will go towards, I just get this right, this is in The Sun. God knows why it's on page 13. I would have thought that it was one of the more incredible things I think I've read, really. Now, Cipriani is said to have made £4 million during his playing career, and he's marrying a lady called, probably unknown to you, certainly unknown to me, Anna Lynn McCord, 39, That's the best thing about journalism. There are two great things about journalism. One is somebody's age, right? You need to know somebody's age to know the context in which a decision, good or bad, has been made, okay? So in his case, anyway, he's marrying a lady, 39, right? And they've invited guests to stump up anything from 75 quid to £450. The lower figure will go towards the marriage license, while the higher will contribute to flowers or the cake on the big day in Los Angeles on August the 22nd. So if you're so minded, you probably don't know Mr. Cipriani. I don't know him. He seems to have known a number of young ladies in his time, which is not a bad thing, because he could have known a number of chaps, which may not necessarily have pleased. Well, it's not a bad thing, but it wouldn't have pleased the Muslim movement, as become clear in Berlin on Saturday night. You might feel like just contacting him and saying, look, Kelvin has alerted me to your current financial difficulties, and on that basis, I'm prepared to give you a super chat of -£5, in which you pay me for getting into my way. Why don't they just get married? How much does a married? You might know this, Mike. Oh, hold on.
More likely to know than I am.
No, not a marriage license in LA.
Oh, I see. I wasn't married in LA. I was married in New York.
Hold on one second. We have a Miss Duberly to our right here who may well know how much do you think it would cost to get married in LA? Is a license expensive?
I don't know. 150 quid?
Yeah, it won't be a lot.
Okay.
All I can tell you is that getting married in America is quite expensive because everybody expects you to push out the boat. But the good news is that when I got married, I had a one-bedroom apartment in Manhattan. I said to everybody, I don't want any gifts. I don't want any crockery. I don't need a canteen of crockery.
Right.
They just gave me money. So I literally walked out of the reception with cash falling out of my pockets. I made about 10 grand.
Yes, well, that's quite interesting, though, isn't it? Because if you go to a bar mitzvah, there are big issues. There are big issues, not only in New York City, but any big Jewish enclaves where at the bar mitzvah certain amounts of money are paid, and I know that through my younger brother, youngest brother. And that the issue there is that you can have tremendous falling outs if the amount of money is not in line with the friendship. Right. So if you had a 30-year friendship with somebody and you send them $30, that can lead to great tensions. Yeah. And I do know in my brother's case that he said to his son, and said, "Look, this is for you, unless I go bust myself, in which case it's not for you."
That's quite handy.
It's not for you.
Quite like that.
It's going for you. And I thought that was a very reasonable way, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, there's too much push these days on children who seem to have been born, when they're born, with both hands coming out like that, right? If you take my family, they're swimming like the Maltese, right? It's all this, right? I've no idea why the Maltese should be playing.
The Maltese Falcon.
Yeah, I blame that. But my kids are sitting around every day, and they basically just leave the message, "Are you dead yet?" Right. I mean, where is the love and affection that you expected from your family?
Well, I mean, I think it's probably your own fault. You've encouraged this because you've basically shown them that you can provide for them, and they've learned that you can provide for them, and so therefore they now expect you to provide for them for the rest of time.
Okay, supposing in one of my rather crackpot ventures, right, of which there seems to be rather more of them at the moment than there have been, right? One of them, not UK Live actually, which has been one of the better things that I may have done. That's where the bar is, right? A fairly low bar. Supposing I go pop, right? Supposing I go pop, and I call them up and I say, "Look, I'm very sorry about this, kids. Things haven't gone well, so there's no money in the pot for you to be left in inheritance. And worse than that, I'm wondering whether you'd like to repay some of the earlier largesse when things were going rather well. How do you think that would be? All right, you're one of my kids. Okay, you're one of my kids, right? You are one of my kids, right? Hi, son, or hi, daughter. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine, thanks.
Okay.
How are you, Dad?
Look, not too good. Not too good. You know that idea of investing in a new hotel in Gaza.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
In which I was one of the early investors.
It was good to get in early on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, similar to another investment which happened to a friend of mine who invested in a furniture company in Croatia, and it was hit by an American bomb. Right.
Sorry.
So you know that the way you make wood is often put together well. I create that wood. So he was none too pleased about that. So look, things haven't gone very well.
Yeah.
And I just wonder whether it's at all possible, when things went well, I saw you, right? Yeah. And I wonder whether you could push it back. Can you give me some money? Because I can't.
Well, the problem is, I'm afraid that I've spent it because I obviously needed a car. So I need the car. So I can't be without a car.
Yeah.
Also, I've had to get involved in this relationship where we're buying a house, and so the money you gave me, I've had to put into the house, and so I haven't got any either. In fact, I'm a bit shocked to hear that you're not going to be giving me any more, to be honest. I was expecting another stipend by the end of the year.
Right. Well, I should explain to my children that this is a scenario which hasn't happened, but you can never be sure.
You can't ever be sure. I mean, my parents left me absolutely nothing. The square root of bugger all. And in fact, we paid for we did pay for the funeral. I mean, there wasn't even there was no plan really of any kind at all.
Well, one of my so my father became embroiled with another lady and married her. And he sent out a note to me and my brothers, which saying, look, I'm just telling you now that I'm not going to leave you any money. I'm leaving it all to my second wife and her family.
Yeah.
Now, I didn't know that there was, where I was working, it never occurred to me there was a thing called inherited wealth, right? And it was of no issue to me, right?
Yeah.
My brother went absolutely mad.
Right. These things are a problem, aren't they? I mean, I know a guy who I'm not going to name because it's a personal thing, but you'll know him.
You're keeping it yourself by advertising on UK Live. Right?
Yes, but I'm not going to say his name. But he's in a terrible way because his business is not doing very well.
Right. Not unusual.
Not unusual. And his kids are now sort of going through college, sort of late teens, early 20s, right? His mother dies, right? Reasonably well off.
Right.
Has given all the loot to the grandkids and bypassed his lot altogether.
Oh, right.
So
now that does happen.
And that's happening. So he gets none of that. And he's
but
going,
she
wait
didn't do it for a nasty reason. She thought she was doing it for a good reason.
Thought he was all
she
right.
thought the son was doing okay.
Yeah. And maybe he was when it was all
How many children?
I think he's got 2.
Okay, fine.
But there's others. Siblings. I mean, there's about 6 kids altogether.
Right. Okay.
But he and his sister or whatever are getting nothing.
Right. Oh well, that
comes as a bit of a shock to him.
That comes as a shock to him.
The other
I tell you what. Shall we? Does anybody feel sorry for him? Can we have a super chat for that chap?
Right.
And if it tops fourpence.
Here's one for you. I should leave you with this one. This is sort of unfortunate accidents that happen to people, right?
Yeah.
My friend of my daughter's is moving from Dubai to Hong Kong. Quite a successful guy.
Yeah.
He's in the. He says he's in the debt reclamation business, which always slightly makes you wonder exactly.
He's a debt collector.
Well, something like that.
Yeah, it's fine.
But he's quite a wealthy debt collector.
Is he of the old variety?
I think he might be. I'm not sure. But anyway, he's got some really nice stuff. He piles it all onto a ship because he's going to Hong Kong. He ships it all to Hong Kong. The other day, the ship got hit by the IRGC. and he's on the phone she's like, because he's also been in a shipping business. He says, no, my stuff's on that ship. It's in flames in the middle of the Straits of Hormuz. He's lost everything.
Well, that is not funny, is it?
It's not funny, except for the fact that he's also in the insurance business and he thinks he'll probably be all right.
Oh, right. Well, that's good. So what with my investment in a hotel in Gaza?
Watching your stuff just burning.
Yeah, he's watching it on one of those ring. He's got one of those ring TVs. Yeah. Oh, really? Is there anything happening to that ship?
Yeah.
Blah, 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 blah. Right. Anyway, that's a sad story, but but I presume he's a clever guy, and he'll come back.
He'll get compensation.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Okay. Well, that's great. Well, Mike, thank you very much for coming in. Mike Graham, hugely successful, and What does that note say there? I got a Ruby Murray LP and an empty pint pot. I tell you what, the demographic of this audience is okay. Well, look, if you hotelsforgaza.com is the kind of crowdfunding aspect that I'm looking at. Okay, thank you very much indeed, Mike. We've got coming up now Linda Duberly, formerly and currently kind of bring a news analysis to what on earth is happening under Burnham, and actually more importantly, I think, to look at how and why it is that when there's a terrible violence organised by Islamists in Berlin at a gay pride event, huge gay pride event, we don't hear anything at all from any of the gay activist charities in this country. I was thinking of Stonewall and the like, to say how outraged they are that the Muslim people behind these kinds of violences are so hostile to the gay community. We don't hear anything. They keep absolutely stum. Why is it that the left feel that it's right that the Islam can get away with the manner in which some women are treated, and the gay community, their views towards the gay community? Why is all this? And I have no answers, and I'm looking to Linda. Hi there, Linda.
Hi. I think it's about angry people. I just think they get angry, particularly our friends in the Islamic movement.
Yeah.
And they then choose a cause, and it almost kind of fits. It doesn't really matter about other things. They just want to cause harm and disruption. And I was on air on Saturday night when this attack happened.
Yeah.
And it was really obvious right from the get-go that it was going to be a very big episode. And of course, there's a history of this kind of thing happening in Germany. There have been various attacks, cars driven into markets and particularly Christmas markets.
Yeah.
And this was really, really appalling. I mean, the guy apparently, he's dead now, so there's no issue of there ever being a live court case. But the guy apparently got out of the van with a machete. That's how some of the people were injured. It wasn't just the impact of the vehicle. It was the mayhem he caused. Yeah. I mean, I've got to say, give a shout out to the German, to the paramedics. They did an amazing job. They treated a lot of people on the ground with life-threatening injuries because they couldn't get them to hospital in time. So they did a fantastic job. But this kind of episode, and it transpires now, the guy was not just in an Islamist movement, he was already had a conviction for terrorism. More minor, but still terrorism. So these people are floating around the place. And what strikes me is that I believe a couple of days earlier, The Telegraph did an excellent investigation about the people who are given visas, specialist visas to work in this country, particularly for Islamic bookshops.
Yeah, true.
And some of the paraphernalia that is published and sold is absolutely blood-curdling. That's what we've got to watch out for now. Right,
so over here, why we need to bring in people from abroad to run Islamic bookshops is beyond me.
Yeah.
I mean, and it makes you wonder whether some of them are simply fronts for something else. And then you see examples from this investigation showing that these bookshops sell books with anti-Semitism at its heart.
Oh, definitely.
Whenever there are two ways of looking at Judaism, they always look upon it. These people are untrustworthy. They're this, they're that. They're occupying our lands out in Palestine and all that kind of stuff. So the question is, why don't we just say you can't come in? That's the end of it, right?
Yeah.
We don't trust why you're here, and we're not going to allow you in. But what would be unreasonable about that? If they were Chinese, we'd have the same action. But my other issue is, why is it that people like Stonewall especially in relation to whether it's women or gay or whatever it is, right? Why is it that they are not massively hostile to the Muslim movement? Why to this form of religion? Why is it that when huge violence like this happens, whether it's in Germany or it's over here, why aren't they at the forefront of saying, these people are hostile to the very central tenet of a free society?
I guess that they are frightened of the repercussions.
From who?
From the Islamists.
What do you mean? They get attacked more often, you mean?
Yeah, I think that might be somewhere at the
Is
heart
that
of
the
it.
reason? But you get somebody like Peter Tatchell, right? He stands up to it. I've been on shows with him where he has attacked Islamism for its hostility towards the gay community, right? Why is it the Stonewall feel that they can't do it? Well, so they're scared. We're all scared. What about their own? Stonewall. What about all their own? People to whom they're supposed to represent, right? They're supposed to say, we represent these people. We're going to go through politics. We're just going to use the media to get our voice out there. Why don't they say that?
I don't know. I don't agree with that. I don't fully know. Maybe they should open a branch office in Gaza and see how that goes for them.
Yes, I suspect that might be shut down a bit swifter than they had anticipated. That is one of the truths about the matter, isn't it? They're always saying, they're always acting, quotes, on behalf of people in this country, whereas actually we have a lot of those people from areas of the world that feel massively hostile towards things that we consider absolutely a normal part of life.
I think it's terrible what this guy did on Saturday night. And I've got friends who are gay. And I would have thought that I was a fairly tolerant person. I've got 3 grown-up children, and they've got friends who are gay. They've got trans friends. They've got all sorts of friends. And they're all welcome to my house because actually they're lovely people, really lovely people. And those were lovely people at that march. That was a peaceful march. There was no trouble. I think it's one of the biggest in Europe. And yet this guy goes down there with the purpose of murdering people. It's horrific.
Kelvin, I've got a video if you want.
Yeah, sure. Let's have a quick look at the upshot of this guy's actions.
What are you doing? Back up. Back up. No. This is public property, right? You're marching.
Right, well, that's, we believe in free speech. Therefore, we allow these people to protest against people that they don't like. But the thing about those pride people is that they're not getting in the way of anybody. They're not causing a problem at all.
No.
And so, look, you get 2 sets of people with different views attacking each other. I can't understand why it doesn't there, right? You get a lot of people battling against each other in life, and I suppose we just have to put up with that. But why is it every time there is a violence against a group of people, there is only one set of people that are acting against your this kind of freedom, and it's Islamists.
And I think you're right.
Why doesn't anybody say? I mean, for instance, why doesn't I don't know. I gather that the foreign secretary, not bring a tear to a glass eye, Miliband, right? Why he apparently he reached out to the foreign secretary of Germany saying we're with you and all this kind of stuff. But why doesn't he actually say it's disgusting? And it's amazing, isn't it? Every time there is an action, it's only ever caused by one religion.
I don't understand it. And also, another investigation happened last week where I believe one of the super inflatable boat came over with 169 people on it.
Yeah.
And so these boats are getting bigger. They're more obvious. It's more in your face, if you like. But also, an investigation revealed that there were fears that people on board those boats were acting as the agents of the government in Tehran. Now that is a very, very big problem for us. MI5 knows this has gone on. They know that people are coming into this country and they are likely, because that's why they've been sent here, to go against us. We know that.
Okay, so not only are we taking in people of which we don't know anything about them.
Exactly.
Right, because they dump their passports in the water and hide any
But
form.
amongst those people are people that have been hired by the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, which is a prescribed terrorist organisation.
So that organisation announced that because we had allowed jets to use bombers,
exactly,
we are now allegedly.
So what you've got is the IRGC who control Iran,
right?
And it's not just an army; it's big in the corporate sector, the commercial sector. It's a really big organisation, and they have said that if Americans use Fairford, the airbase here, we will take reprisals. And what people don't understand, because they all said at the time, a lot of people, but we know their missiles can't reach our shores. The Iranians have shown that they are prepared to wage something called hybrid, or some people call it asymmetric warfare, like forcing the closure of the Strait of Hormuz to cause huge economic damage around the world. They will also undermine society in this country by other ways, with misinformation, with campaigns, by inserting their agents into this country. So Ken McCullum, who runs MI5, has already publicly said at the end of last year that his people have foiled 20 terrorist attempts. Now, what do we think is going to happen now? The answer is obvious. We are going to have a lot more trouble.
Okay, so why do we allow anybody from Iran or any neighbourhood? We just simply say we can't really tell the difference whether you're Iranian or not. We suspect you are, okay? We're not allowing you in. Why don't we just turn them around and stick a parachute on them and drop them over France and say thanks very much, or drop them back over? If Iran is going to be our enemy, so we take
Iran is our enemy.
Okay, so the Straits of Hormuz, right? We say that is an argument in favour of us spending more money to make sure we aren't at the have to bow the knee to either Iran or Russia or anybody who's supplying oil to us. We have got to be independent at some stage. So there's two things we should be doing. We should be developing more oil for ourselves. And we should be spending more money on...
I don't think we could ever produce enough oil. We're called, in the world of oil pricing, we're takers, not makers. So we can't produce enough, and we can't affect the international price of oil. But we should be now drilling at Jackdaw and I think it's Rosebank. The two mature fields in the North Sea. We should be extracting every drop of energy we can out of both fields, because it increases the tax take for this country.
Which is good.
It produces jobs, maybe 3,500 for people up there in Aberdeen, who've been struggling, and it partially protects our security, because that is one of the frontiers of modern warfare, is what we do about energy.
Actually alongside that we should continue to grow our either our wind farms or our solar.
We should.
But also there is another price to be paid there, which is the price is actually the grid can't cope with the amount of solar and wind that is getting delivered. So we end up, but we have to spend this. So I know this sounds bizarre, but do you think that Miliband is right, that actually not to do this is actually a danger to the future of our country?
Not to drill.
not to drill and not to bring more solar and wind in at the same time.
Yeah, because these arguments are complex. Not building our renewable energy is a bad idea. What we have to do is we have to go to those two sites, those two fields, and drill until they're done. And that's already in the pipeline. It was only the licenses, I believe, we were waiting to get our hands on or we're waiting to put through.
Yeah.
But also we have to do exploration because we need to fund our renewable projects. So we need to do both in parallel because one has to fund the other. And that has to happen. And it's no good saying, well, the grid can't cope. I mean, okay, surgeons used to operate with anaesthetic. They found anaesthetic. Man never went up into space. Now, man has been up in space. You cannot just say, this can't happen.
Yeah,
man is clever. Man has always overcome these barriers.
And woman is clever.
And woman is clever.
Yeah, exactly. And the majority are. And they're too clever in my experience. So we're going to have to pass a law about that. Right. So the one thing that continues to irritate and aggravate me is Angela Rayner. Not well, she does on a regular basis.
On a cellular level.
But now saying that under no circumstances am I paying my 17 grand back. And because I read a piece by Nadine in the Mail on Sunday yesterday, in which she said that she paid hers back. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think that she's doing any better in life than Angela Rayner.
No.
So well done her. I mean, the funniest meme I've seen recently was a picture of nine significant pictures of Angela Rayner, her face, with a headline over the top saying the 9 people who have benefited most from Angela Rayner's larger. Here, this one here.
Here we are.
The group picture of all the people Angela Rayner has lifted out of poverty. Now that is a bloody funny meme. That very simple, right? I don't know who did that. If they'd like to contact me, I'll give them a super chat of at least 30 bob. So the bottom line on this is how it causes her a problem. So there are 2 problems, aren't there? There's Louise Haigh being a convicted fraudster, giving out advice. Look, I don't mind about, if she's a convicted fraudster, that's fine, and she wants to go into business or she wants to do something, right? When you're in public life and you're handing out, putting together acts of parliament, coming up with policy which is going to affect millions of people, I don't think you can be in that job, right?
No.
If she wants to go and run a pie stall somewhere or run a coffee shop, or she wants to start a little business or something, fantastic, good for her, right? Keep out of public life. On the other hand, we've got Angela Rayner, who's now going to come up with some daft ideas of how to reduce the housing stock of our country by her being in charge of it, right? How can she have authority when she comes into a room?
That's precisely the point.
And everybody says, do you know what? So you got 17 grand and you've gone for 10 months or something, in and out. Why don't you just give the money back? After all, she doesn't seem to be short of money. Paid 800 grand for a house in Hove. I mean, thanks to her investment, it's probably worth about 650 now. So that cheers me up a bit. But how do you maintain authority within a cabinet where big decisions are being made about all our futures by people who have significant problems in their background?
Exactly. This is a leadership issue.
Yeah.
Having this kind of background nullifies any hope you have of ever being an effective leader.
Yeah.
And she's not the Prime Minister, but I guess she wants to be one day the Prime Minister.
No, that's over. That's over.
Do you think so?
That is, Linda, yeah, absolutely over, I'm afraid.
What makes you say that?
Because I expect Burnham to last the full 3 years.
Term, the full 3 years.
And then afterwards, who knows what's going to happen.
Indeed.
But I feel very uncomfortable about the shape of UK politics right now. Plus, do you see, and the significant issue here, and they're being smart about this, is they're going to follow the Australian line and actually going to force everybody to vote. Now, you can have any view you like, but you can be sure that the people that aren't voting, right, are a collection of socialist ne'er-do-wells because they're too bloody lazy to get out of their council flat and go down even on the day. And so I think that is good news for them.
Yeah, but you are quite right in general terms about the whole political landscape is about to change. And what's uncomfortable about it is we don't know which way it's going to go. What we do know, actually, this is an interesting point, and I talked about this at the weekend, is that the Green Party have lost a lot of support.
Yeah.
I think they've gone down to about 9% in popularity terms. And what's interesting as well is that Reform has kind of plateaued out. And now that could be because of the latest debacles about finance, but it could be that that's happening anyway. And the other discomforting thing...
When you say plateaued out, I think it's stunning that they've still got 24%.
Yeah.
Don't you find that amazing?
But they're not. But it's not grown.
It is not growing. And but I can tell you one thing: if Farage weren't the leader of that party,
no, that's true.
There would be a new plateau. It would be called 18 or 17%.
Yeah, because it is dependent on the character and the driving force of one individual.
Yeah.
That's a weakness ultimately, but that's just the way it is. Interesting.
Isn't that true? Isn't that also true of all political parties now? Isn't the leader of the party, whereas previously when cabinets were made up of
big personalities,
in my day,
the big beasts.
Yeah. So Anthony Eden, Harold Macmillan, some of the great names. No, seriously.
You're not that old.
Yeah, I am that old, unfortunately. But so isn't today, it's all focused on one person.
Yeah.
Who is the leader? The rest of it doesn't really matter.
Because we're in the cult of personality here, and that extends itself to politics.
Yeah.
And Nigel Farage has a very strong personality. I've been on air with him. He's incredibly articulate, but actually he connects with people really, really well. Better, I think, than Andy Burnham. But Andy Burnham is 100 times better than Keir Starmer. He does resonate with his audience, and we've seen Labour make a bit of a surge in the last week or so, probably off the Burnham bounce, as we can now call it. Conservatives are not doing badly, and that is down to Kemi Badenoch and her personality. The problem for the Conservatives is that her popularity is not matched with an increase in the popularity of the party. And that is something the Conservative Party will have to deal with over the next 3 years. But I think over the next 3 years, we will see politics become very dominated by personalities, but also very fragmented. So I think we could be in a multi-party country.
But even if we're in a multi-party country, when you do the maths on that, a Lib Dem who see their future to the left, a Greens, I totally agree with you, down the pan, and Labour doing, we'll say, okay, unless something blows up, right? That is going to defeat a Conservative and Reform coalition. So that,
it could do, yeah.
If we ended up with that, we would end up having discussions like this for 1,000 years.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's what happens in other countries. Yeah. But I think that people are inclined to ignore the Lib Dems for obvious reasons, because their leader, he has a personality of a type, and I think he didn't do a bad job campaigning in the last election. People say he's a bit of a buffoon. There he is on his board on the water and whatever. But he got into a kind of niche by dominating the care sector conversation. And I think that helped him. We forget what they got, 72 MPs.
Yeah,
Lib Dems got 72 MPs. I think they'll get more MPs in the next election.
Right, well, that would make them enormously powerful.
Yeah, but they're quite powerful now, but everyone's ignoring them.
Well, even in places like round my way in Surrey, in the council elections, the Reform got kicked out, and they all went. The thing went totally Lib Dem.
Yeah, and Richmond, where I used to live, that council doesn't have anything other than a Lib Dem councillor. No, they only have Lib Dem councillors there now.
No, it's absolutely shocking that. Right, so we are in a world now. I was rather taken by it that they've learned something from Farage, Labour. I noticed that I don't know whether Burnham is a drinker or not, but when they announced that stunt over the pubs, the video they put out was of him having a drink in the pub.
Yeah.
And that is a shot which would not have been used by Starmer. And isn't it incredible in politics how quickly you are Starmer who. I mean, literally, the
water just closes over.
Yeah. It's literally, he's been gone, just over a week, right? And already he is absolutely of no account. And I wonder whether that is another aspect of politics today, that actually the king's dead, long live the king. Yeah. It's now happening so quickly that all the graveyards are absolutely full of politicians, and actually nobody gives a damn about the politician. And that were any of these.
Partly because people have lost faith in politicians in general. People now, they put them alongside second-hand car salesmen, estate agents and journalists.
And tabloid journalists.
Right, tabloid journalists, that's right. They're all in the same basket.
like that role myself.
Yeah.
I've always enjoyed being at the bottom of the pile, right? What I'm surprised at is that the pile seems to be heading towards me rather than me going up in the pile.
But the thing is, I think that the public don't like politicians anymore. They don't trust them. And
can I ask you about that? You say anymore, okay? You say anymore. I am older than you. I know you feel challenged about that. I'm older than you, right? But I can remember Harold Wilson and Ted Heath.
Yeah,
okay?
but I can remember them.
Okay, but I can remember the battles between them, right? And nobody trusted either of those.
Oh, I don't know that's.
What, Ted Heath?
Oh, Ted Heath, I admit, but people did trust Margaret Thatcher. Now, I know I'm going to get shot down in flames over that because it's split. It's she's a very black and white personality, if I can use that phrase. But people respect her even when they didn't have her politics, because she was clear in her communications. She said what she said what she wanted, and she articulated that very, very clearly to the public. That's what the public respect. What they don't like are these cut and paste marketing phrases they keep getting fed. One of the things I want to say about Andy Burnham is that I think that he's good. He's a very proficient speech maker because he's very confident with his command of the language, and he's charismatic. I'm a conservative, voter, but I can see that is the truth about him. But what they might not like is this whole thing about, I have my meetings in Greggs and the pub. That is ridiculous. When we know that he is likely to be advised by Jim O'Neill, the very respected crossbencher and ex-Goldman Sachs person, we know he is talking to clever people because that is what this situation demands. This whole thing about I have meetings in Greggs, a brand I have great affection for, I'll have you know.
Well, it's funny you should say that, because I think they're going to announce that their numbers are all right, but less and less people are, by sticking up prices. Isn't it true that thanks to the heat and the fact that people are trying to lose some weight or something, that they're actually selling less sausage rolls? Their results are announced on Wednesday. And I think they're going to announce that their profits are up, but actually they're going to have to come up with new ideas to keep people queuing up.
But everyone has to do that. Takeaway, restaurants, right up to the...
So let me tell you, you live in Marlow, don't you?
I do.
Is there a Greggs in Marlow?
No.
There's two Michelin star restaurants. You have to travel.
I do.
You have to travel for a sausage roll.
Every time I see one, I go in and I buy the full fat sausage roll, not the vegan roll. But I tell you a little story. Your Oppo, Piers Morgan.
Oh yeah. He has eaten a few pies lately. He's eaten them. He looks as though he's drunk a few of the pies as well.
He went on air. And he said, this whole thing about the vegan sausage roll is ridiculous. I've never heard of anything so stupid in my life. And later, several months later, I was doing the media training for the then head of marketing for Greggs.
Oh, right.
And she said he was single-handedly responsible for a 10% uplift in their profits that year because they couldn't have bought the advertising. They couldn't have paid that much money for the kind of advertising he gave them. So they all these people trooped in, and even if they didn't buy a vegan sausage roll, they bought a normal sausage roll. So they did really, really well, and they are very happy about him.
So let me get this right then, Linda. In order to keep the wolf from the door, you are also giving media advice to people of a substantial nature. Do you know it? It's very interesting. I've been in this game for a number of years. I've had some success and a lot of failure, right? I've enjoyed the failure much more than the success, funnily enough. Tell me this. Why is it nobody has ever asked me to give media advice?
I wonder why that might be. But actually, they should ask.
No, I'm joking with you.
No,
but
I
I know why they don't do it. So there's a friend of mine, also who you would know, right? He was pitching for some business. He runs a PR business, and he ended up seeing, say, we'll say for the sake of argument for this, somebody high up the ladder, in fact, I think the CEO of some major corporation in this country, and he said, "Oh, hello, I can do this, and this, and this, and this." And the guy simply turned to him and said, why on earth would I want to take advice from a former editor of The Sun, right? To which my friend actually had no response. He said, actually, not a bad point, that, mate, not a bad point.
But the thing is, that people always say, about media training.
Yeah.
It should be someone from the BBC or someone from the Times or the Telegraph or whatever. But if you actually, I was told this by a very senior civil servant, that he went to the press department in I think it was Ministry of Justice, and he said, well, who do you regard as the paper, the benchmark paper? And they said, several of the tabloids, they know how to write properly, they know how to be concise. Particularly when I was growing up, the Mirror was very, very concise. It had a
The
reading
Daily
age.
Mirror?
Yeah.
Right, okay. Anyway, that was Linda Doobly. Clearly had a few drinks before she came on.
And reading age of 13.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying the Sun doesn't do this as well, but my dad read the Mirror, so I used to read that when I was 13.
Yeah.
But where I think tabloid newspapers historically are very, very good is that they are very good at understanding complicated issues and boiling it down so that they make their coverage very, very accessible. When I was a freelance, I used to find it much, much easier to write the Daily Telegraph because you just put the first most important thing in top paragraph and then it just descended downwards. You could actually write an entire story without fully understanding it.
Yeah.
But the people who write for tabloid newspapers have to understand stuff that they're writing about. So that's what, I was nearly said his name, but that's what your guy should have said in response to that person. You need to be thinking about the end game. What do you want to achieve? And the single most important thing you want to achieve is what we've just been talking about. How do you resonate with the listener, the viewer, the reader, whatever? How do you resonate? And you resonate by being yourself. That's what Nigel Farage does. It's what Boris Johnson did. It's what Andy Burnham can do, despite what you might think of his policies. They all know it's about them. And that's why that man made a mistake.
Okay, supposing I look at it another way in relation to Burnham to say that he's got like basically the dead cat bounce, i.e. It couldn't get any worse than Starmer. And along comes a cheeky chappie from Liverpool, which doesn't actually necessarily make him attractive to me, I must be honest, but there will be people out there. Do you think that dividing the country into the north and the south is going to be helpful to him? I mean, if it weren't for the southeast, which he seems to despise, which is fine, the country would basically go bust. It's only the net. They are the net suppliers of cash to the system. Everybody else has got their hand. And the reason our debts are so large is that because all parts of vast areas of the north are supplying no revenues whatsoever. I'm not saying they're not doing a good job. I'm not saying they're not nice people. But the reality of it is shocking. And you get places like Scotland where they put the top rate of income tax up to 48p, and actually the very smart Scots works out ways of then not paying 48p, and actually their cash take has gone down rather than up.
So I agree with all of that. I agree with your observations about the north-south. Is that helpful? Well, maybe not. Devolution, I think that's an issue which can absorb a lot of time and money to no great effect. But the problem for Andy Burnham, I suspect, is that there are really profound societal and economic problems which will require a great deal of effort from any government and any voter. People have to understand we're now in very tricky waters. And although, as I said, I'm not a Labour Party supporter, I listened this morning to what he said about the social care and the NHS.
Well, it affects you, doesn't it, more than me?
No, but we have to.
Where's the defibrillator for Miss Duberly?
Behind you to the right. Behind you to the right.
But we.
Oh, is it there?
But we have to pay attention to this. And I was encouraged, not on a party political basis, but I was encouraged by someone who'd finally said, if we carry on the way we're going, social care will destroy the NHS.
I heard him say that. I didn't know where the justification for that was.
So this is anecdotal, really, but
Yeah.
I was told this. So my dad died about 14 years ago with vascular dementia, and
What age was Dad?
He was 73, 74.
And how long had he had?
Probably for about 10 years.
Right. And had you seen that change in him?
Oh, he was absolutely unconscious at the end.
Right,
He couldn't.
right.
His brain couldn't tell his throat to actually swallow. People
Right.
don't understand a lot about
Right.
dementia when they're not confronted with it. But we tried and got continuing care for him, and but it was
through the council.
yeah, that's funding.
Yeah.
And we got it right at the end. And I was told, first of all, he wouldn't get it because he didn't have a medical condition. And I said, well, what do you mean? And they said, he's got a social condition, therefore he can't have the money. Now, we're fairly pushy in my family.
Yeah.
So we pushed ahead and eventually we got him diagnosed as having a medical condition. And I said, why are you drawing the distinction? They said, because if we give everyone that came to us with dementia, etc., the diseases of old age, it would crush, and we called it a medical condition, it would come under NHS funding and it would crush the NHS.
Hold on a second. Let me ask you this. Had he got a house?
Oh, yeah.
And if he had a house, isn't it true that it's the children of the
that suffer
sick
if it has to be
person
sold,
who say that money should not be spent, right, which is money, wealth that he accumulated, should not be spent on his health, because we want to make sure that we get our slice
well, it doesn't matter
of the
what
inheritance.
They want. You have to sell your house down to, I think, about you can have £24,000,
You can.
and then you get you can go into a home which